not gay, but I'll learn.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Random Encounter Podcast, episode 77. I'm your host, James, and I'm joined by Mr. Robert.
Hello.
We got the legendary Super Saiyan himself back again, Geekdom101. Oh, I think you're muted.
No, just...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We're live right now, right?
Yeah, we're live right now, yeah.
That's me. Yeah, I was muted, bro. I didn't want to talk during your intro. I thought you were going to have like a longer intro, you know what I mean? Like, those long, drawn-out intros that everybody does, including me, a minute into the stream. Remember, man, when you go live, you got to give them a few minutes to file in, because I haven't even promoted it yet. I'm promoting it right now. So.
Oh, I gotcha.
What's up, though?
Yeah, remember last time I introduced you as the Supreme Kai. You're like, man, this guy sucks. Like, no, I decided to quote you as a legendary Super Saiyan. I think that's better.
I'll
right?
take it.
You'll take
that's
it?
Fine.
Sounds
I'm
good.
just a man, bro. I'm just a man making his way through the plains and mountains and swamps and shit.
And we got the luminary himself, Sackchief.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Oh, he gets to be the luminary. I see. Okay.
You want to be the luminary? I'm sorry.
No, bro. Let me be the Archfiend. I'll be the Archfiend.
You want to be the Archfiend? I got you.
Yeah, I'll take that. That's very Dragon Quest.
That is very Dragon Quest. But today we have a special episode of the podcast where we'll be discussing everything Dragon Quest, something that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. Actually, since our last time you were on Geekdom. And yeah, we finally got Sackchief in, we got Geekdom in, we got Robert in. So I have a whole group of guests in here. The normal panel is not here, but I have a group of guests that are they're probably way more educated about Dragon Quest than I am, honestly. So we're going to discuss everything Dragon Quest here. But before we get
thank you.
Yeah. Before we get into that, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, go ahead and subscribe to Geekdom101 and Sackchief on their channels respectively. Their links are in the description below. Also follow them on Twitter, Twitch, everything they do in all their social media accounts and all that other good stuff. Before we get into Dragon Quest though, I did want to mention something because last podcast I did talk about the whole Xbox rumors of their games going third party. I did want to just mention real quick that Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Matt Booty did go on the podcast, and what happened was they basically explained that they are not going third party. They're not going to pull a Sega, but they do have certain games that they are going to put multi-platform. They didn't mention those games, but the rumors were Hi-Fi Rush. What was it? Hi-Fi Rush, I keep forgetting the second one. Pentiment, I think it is, or Pentulum. I think it's Pentiment. Sea of Thieves and Grounded. And they're pretty much doing a case-by-case basis, so they're not going to be doing Halo on PS5 or Nintendo Switch or anything like that. So there is that. We'll probably discuss more about that on the next podcast, which will be next Sunday. So definitely stay tuned for that stuff. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start talking about Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest is one of those games that, let me tell you the history of what Dragon Quest was to me, because I did not start off liking Dragon Quest. I actually got into Dragon Quest a lot later. I had played Dragon Quest VIII, which was my first Dragon Quest game that I tried out, and I actually hated it. I thought the game sucked. I thought the music sucked. I was like, this is not great at all. What drew me in was probably like most people back in, what was this, like mid 2003-ish? I forgot. 2004. Like most people at that time frame was Dragon Ball Z art, right? Akira Toriyama's beautiful artwork on there is what drew me in. And of course the Final Fantasy 12 demo that it came with also drew me in. And yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it when it first came out. Fast forward a few years, I did try out Dragon Quest 9, and I did like Dragon Quest 9. It actually was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I just didn't play it all the way through, and I kind of dropped off. But later on, when Dragon Quest 11 was announced, I actually was like, you know what? I really want to get into Dragon Quest because it seems like this franchise is very special. It's been around for some time. A lot of people compare it to Final Fantasy, and it did things before Final Fantasy did it. And it was kind of like a staple of RPGs, especially in the, like, when you really look at it, it kind of started off a lot of trends that other games do now. They kind of set the format. They took some elements, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Miyamoto was also inspired when he made Zelda based off of Dragon Quest. I believe that was the case where he looked at Dragon
Brother,
Quest 1.
Dragon Quest inspired everything. Everything, bro. And pretty much everything borrowed something from Dragon Quest. And by the way, that's a fact. That's not like, oh, he's a fanboy. No, we have evidence to prove this.
No, it's true. Even Pokemon took its inspiration from Dragon Quest V. Dragon Quest is massive as far as its inspiration for a lot of modern games now. Persona, Pokemon, Final Fantasy, like all of them. I've taken something from them.
Earthbound's a big one too.
Yeah, Earthbound. Yeah, that's true. Like even the way the battles play out were very Earthbound, like where the camera view is really just the enemies in front of you, like Dragon Quest does.
And there's also hundreds of not unreleased but untranslated Dragon Quest clones that came out for Famicom and Super Famicom. There's a game called like The Quest of Hercules or whatever. It's like a Greek version of Dragon Quest.
Really?
If you look at the NES version side by side with Dragon Quest, it's identical. It's almost like they borrowed like the sprites, how similar it is. Like even the music sounds like it's wannabe Sugitomo. And then Sugiyama, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then there's also other games. There's another one. There's an SNES version of that Hercules series, and that looks like Dragon Quest. I mean, there's just so many random games that never came out in America that got stuck in Japan that got fan translations later on that were inspired by Dragon Quest. There's just hundreds, you know.
Yeah, and like Dragon Quest it's a special franchise to me now, but back then, like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. And it's kind of weird when I look at it. So, first I want to give a huge shout out to like Sackchief because he's actually what got me to really get into Dragon Quest. I explained this a little bit a while back, actually when Geekdom was on the podcast episode. Basically, what happened was I decided, I wanted to play Dragon Quest 11, but I was like, I also wanted to experience some other games before I played that, and I really wanted something to play. So I started watching his videos, and I just ate it up. Like literally, I maybe watched a bunch of his videos 10 times each and just kept looking at it over and over again to kind of see which one I wanted to play. And I remember, I believe in one of them that you recommended your favorite Dragon Quest. It was Dragon Quest V. And then you were saying the best way to play each game. And then you had said like you like the mobile versions of like 5 and 4 and stuff like that. So I picked it up on mobile, and it was the perfect timing because my youngest son was born. And at that time I was super into Monster Hunter, and I couldn't play Monster Hunter because I would carry my son and stuff like that. So I bought it on mobile, and I was able to carry him while also playing Dragon Quest. And man, like that game was like, wow, like I've been missing out because that game is amazing. It is my favorite RPG ever made. The story is amazing.
I'll be hearing the same thing about Godzilla -1 when it comes out on digital, bro. That son of yours prevented you from going to see it, bro, and I'll never forgive him for it, bro. I'll never forgive your son for that, bro.
I told you wanted to go and babysit for me, I would have gone,
I offered. I was like, I'll take care of the kid for 2 hours. I offered. You're gonna leave your baby with me, bro. I think a movie getting ready to be made right there, bro.
He will eat up all your Dragon Ball Z stuff that he has. I'll tell you, because he loves Dragon Ball Z right now. He's at that stage that I've been watching through we're caught up on the Cell saga now. So Goku just started fighting Cell, and he's been watching that with me, and he's loving it.
That's a great fight. That's a great fight.
But yeah, like I really really love that. So like let's go ahead and start talking about our experiences of Dragon Quest, like where we first started, how we pretty much started with the franchise and so forth. Let's start with you, Sackchief, because you've actually been pretty quiet so far. So let's start with you. What was your introduction into Dragon Quest?
Okay, so I've talked about this a few times before, but I'll mention it again. So Dragon Quest, my first time finding out what Dragon Quest was back in the mid-2000s, Shonen Jump actually had an American run of their magazines where they would print out manga every month, and you'd have a new chapter of One Piece and like those mangas every month, right? I subscribed to that when I was a kid in like elementary school, and what happened was that magazine would sometimes come with different little prizes. It would come with like trading cards, like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and different kinds of trading cards, and sometimes it would have like a disc. So they would have demo discs for different animes, but sometimes they would have video game demo discs. And one issue of Shonen Jump that came with a demo disc for Dragon Quest VIII, and that same magazine had an interview with Yuji Horii, interview with Akira Toriyama, talking about DQ8. I had no clue what Dragon Quest was at the time. My story is actually kind of like the opposite of Geekdom's. Geekdom was first a Dragon Quest fan, then it became a Dragon Ball fan afterwards. I was a Dragon Ball Z fan because every kid back then was in the mid 2000s, and I saw that and I was like, oh, that's obviously the same artist. I read about the interview; it seemed like a cool game, so I played it on the PS2. I was just so blown away because there wasn't really any game like that on the PS2, quite the same as DQ8. So I bought DQ8, the PS2 game. That was my first Dragon Quest game. After that, over the years, Square Enix and Nintendo were doing a pretty good job of localizing the entries. So I played them on the DS afterwards, and that kind of got me into the series. So over the years, I would be hunting down all the previous games, all the spin-offs. I did so much research over the years into the series to get to this point. But it all started with 8 on the PS2. That was my first Dragon Quest game.
Nice. Yeah. That's funny because technically that was my first. I said as well, and I just wasn't really feeling it. But I did pick it up again on 3DS, so I do own it on 3DS. I did play it there. I also own it on mobile as well. I bought every single Dragon Quest game there is on mobile. I bought them all. What about you, Robert? What was your first experience with Dragon Quest?
My first experience with Dragon Quest was actually Dragon Warrior on the NES. I had that when I was 7 or 8. I had a very hard time playing it. But when I eventually came back to it with Dragon Quest VIII, like you guys did. I picked it up because 1, Akira Toriyama's arts, and 2, I was a big Final Fantasy fan, and it came with a Final Fantasy 12 demo. And I'm like, I'm gonna pick it up for this.
Oh, yeah.
The demo was not that great. The game was amazing. Fell in love with it. Like, I loved the music. I loved the character design. I loved the combat. Like, I loved the whole how the leveling up the weapons and the moveset being based on like the weapons that you leveled up. It was just I was completely enchanted by it. And I was also really... Are we allowed to do any spoilers here or spoiler warning or anything?
I would say spoilers is fine. I mean, just say... Before you say spoilers, just say spoilers so that
Be careful how big it is, though.
It's the failure of the story. Like, the story is consecutive failure. Consecutive... You're always going in, and then you're always failing. And it was just like, no matter what you did, it was like, oh my God. Like, just going through it. Like, it's really oppressive.
Yeah.
And then the victory at the end is so much sweeter because of it. But it's just this fairy tale that is well executed. And you'd think it's like you can almost guess what's going to happen, but you don't care because it's so well executed and so perfect. But because of that failure that's consistently happening, it's also unexpected. So it was one of the most perfectly executed games that I'd played at the time, and it was just incredible. So I went back. Anytime Nintendo did one of their DS releases, I got it. I did fan translations. I did the fan translation of 5 for the PS2, which is my favorite version of 5. And it's just I've loved the franchise ever since. So anytime a Dragon Quest game comes out, it's an event in our household. So
no, that's awesome. I started playing 5, the PS2 version, recently, and that's because I want to say like 5 months ago, Geekdom was streaming it on Twitch, and I was like, wait, there's a fan translation of this? I did not know that. And of course, I got the fan translation, and I started that up, playing that. I haven't played through all of it. I kind of like stopped because I was like, I bought a bunch of games. I gotta finish these. But I do like that, especially because that one, I think that's the only version that has the orchestrated soundtrack, because all the other ones are MIDI soundtrack. So I love the world map theme in 5. Oh man, so amazing. I like that they use that. And also, what's the warrior style game? Is it Dragon Quest? Not Dragon Quest Heroes, because that was a card game, right? Or is it?
No, Heroes is the game where you where it's like Dynasty Warriors.
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so it is.
Style.
Yeah. Okay, so the Heroes 2, in the beginning, I think it's the first level, maybe the second, where it has the overworld theme, the map theme, basically, of Dragon Quest V. Love that. But yeah, what about you, Geekdom? Let's hear your story.
Well, it's like what Sack said, but it's more similar to Bob's story. Yeah, I started with one. My older brother, when I was a little kid, I was little, bro. Maybe it was 5 or 6. Introduced me to Dragon Warrior on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and kind of taught me like how the game works. And I actually think my first playthrough, he was there for some of it. My very, 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 very first playthrough, I remember not understanding the whole leveling system. So I decided to go. This is the first game. I went north and I went east, far, far, far east, crossed a bunch of bridges and got killed by a scorpion like that. And I was like, okay, so we're not ready for that yet. And then I had to like figure out how the leveling system worked and all that, which every game has this now. Like every game has adapted these RPG elements, unlocking items, unlocking weapons, and it doesn't have to be an RPG. Every game from Grand Theft Auto to God of War has some kind of like leveling up system. It's like a thing every game has. How many games don't have it? It's very few. Even some fighting games have this system now.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the beginning of it, and I loved Dragon Warrior. I played through it I don't know how many times on NES, and I got my hands on Dragon Warrior 2. And one of my big accomplishments was I was able to beat that game on the Nintendo version with no guidebook, which is almost impossible. That's almost impossible, but it took me a while. It took me like 2 years, but I always tease people, and I'm like, you complain about this game when I beat Dragon Quest 2 when I was 7. I always tease them about it. It's like you're over here talking about how hard Elden Scroll or Elden Ring is or whatever, and you want to play something hard, bro? Play Dragon Quest 2 with no map. Then you're really gonna be wanting to pull your hair out. But when you're a kid, bro, you have a lot of patience. Plus, if you're a Nintendo kid, you realize that almost every Nintendo game had something like that made it super difficult, except for maybe the Mario games. But most of these, even Zelda 2 had like a high difficulty compared to Zelda 1.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? There's Nintendo didn't tell you anything. Old Nintendo games don't tell you, like, when you play a game now, like the Arkham games, there's like a tutorial area where it's like, okay, press this to do a batarang, whatever. We didn't have that during the Nintendo era. If you didn't have the book that came with the game, you had to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. So I became a big Dragon Quest fan, not even knowing it was called Dragon Quest. Me and my brother went on a scavenger hunt. This is back in the 90s to find copies of 3 and 4 because I had gotten 2, I beat 2, and I wanted to play 3 and 4. We didn't find them nowhere. We drove around maybe 10 pawn shops one day and didn't find them. So what wound up happening was I went to, life went on, and then in middle school is when ROM started to become a thing, and I was finally able to play 3, 4, and I was finally able to play 5 with the fan translation, because this is like my first playthroughs of Final Fantasy 2, 3, and Dragon Quest 5 and Chrono Trigger and all that. A lot of these games were fan translated games. Mm-hmm. And it was an early, nowadays they do it all the time, but it was early days of that. So, and then the reverse was for me. I discovered Dragon Ball later, and I noticed that there was a distinctly similar art style. I still think Toriyama's Dragon Quest designs are better. I think they're more creative. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I noticed the similarities mostly when you have, and I point this out a lot. If you ever see the Dragon Ball episode where they run into Oolong and Oolong becomes a knight and the knight's holding the ramen cup, the knight looks like the knight from Dragon Quest, the knight abhorrent or whatever. It's the same design. So Toriyama kind of reused aspects of the design. Yep. And that's when it hit me like, oh my God, this is the same artist. It's the same guy. People mistakenly think that Toriyama is the creator of Dragon Quest, and I understand why they say that. I get that a lot. He's not the creator, he's the artist. I'm sure he has some creative leverage, but it's not like Yuji Horii is the guy who comes up with the story. Yeah. And then after that, every time there was a new Dragon Quest game, I bought it and I played it every time. And it's funny because when he mentioned people buying Dragon Quest 8 for Final Fantasy 12's demo, I used to get so mad, man, because people would literally buy Dragon Quest 8 for the Final Fantasy 12 demo, and I would tell them, I'd be like, you've got the most delicious, freaking hottest Persian woman in the history of beautiful women, and you gave her up for the fat chick at McDonald's, bro. That's you had a nice big fat plate of filet mignon, and you went in that restaurant, ordered a Big Mac. That's what you did, bro. If you bought Dragon Quest 8 for the Final Fantasy 12 demo, bro, are you kidding me? You ordered ice cream, they brought you horse manure, and you ate it, bro. That's what that was. And I would tell them, like, I cannot believe you did this, you know? And Final Fantasy 12, I hated it when it first came out. I think time has made it a bit easier to play. But the one thing about Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest that I've always said is that even though I have a lot of Final Fantasy games that I love, there's classics, many classics in that series. Dragon Quest never forgot its roots. Dragon Quest 12, I guarantee you, despite what changes they're going to make, is still going to have the aesthetic and the feel of the other games. Final Fantasy doesn't do that. Starting with especially with 7 and then later 10, and then they just change what the game is. And when I play modern Final Fantasies, I feel like the creators of the Final Fantasy games are trying to reinvent the wheel every time they make a new one. And I respect that to a degree, but Dragon Quest never leaves its roots. Like, even people I think are assuming that 12 is going to have
action elements.
Yeah, well, it might have action elements, but people are saying it's going to be an action RPG like 7 Remake was, and that's just an assumption, bro. We don't have any evidence of that. But I don't think it's ever going to leave its original roots. Even if it's a darker story. There's dark stories in Dragon Quest. There's a lot of darkness in Dragon Quest.
5.
But
5 is pretty dark.
5 is really dark. 4 is dark. 4 is dark. And you know, all of them have darkness to them, man. 8 has darkness. 9. 7 has a lot of darkness, bro. 7 is one of the darkest ones. So, you know, I like that Dragon Quest never forgot its roots, bro. It's always going to have that classic style with whatever system they want to implement, whether it be the job system or the class system, which you know, 3 has it, 6 has it, 7 has it, or whether it have each character has their own abilities like 2 and 4 have. Whatever. Every game tries something different or something similar, but the base gameplay always stays the same.
Yeah. You know, and that's something I do appreciate that they do that, because the turn-based combat, even though I do like myself, you know, action RPG, like Final Fantasy 7 Remake, I enjoy it, you know, a lot of people do. It's nice to go back to something that's just, you know, very strategic, because 11 is very strategic. I've died to bosses and just changed up, okay, maybe I should do this instead of this, and been able to win, where a lot of action games, it's you just got to dodge at the right time and you will win. You know, and that's something I really do appreciate Dragon Quest for. Real quick, we'll go into some of the comments here. Plasma Access says, yo, came here for Sack. Excited to see y'all talk about Dragon Quest. Will be cool to hear you guys talk about the mainline DQ games not being accessible on modern platforms. We definitely will talk about that. Mara Ujo says, hi from Brazil. Red
frustration of being a fan.
Yeah. Bryant says, great group. Cannot wait to hear your discussion about Dragon Quest. Yeah, these are older comments. Let's see. Gronya, I believe that's how you pronounce it, says DQ has kind of a formula, but it's a formula that never disappoints. It's like a comfort food. Yeah, I agree.
It is. It very much is, dude. Very much. He nailed it with the comfort food thing.
Yeah.
I've compared it to a perfectly made mac and cheese. Like, you go to it, and it's perfectly made. You know what you're going to get every single time. They're not going to do any super experimental things with it. You're here for mac and cheese. You get mac and cheese. That's
unlike Final Fantasy 12, where you have the main character looking like he's on estrogen with no muscles, and then I look at Dragon Quest and all the main characters look cool. You know, they're not all super ripped, but they look cool.
Hey,
Toriyama is a phenomenal artist.
Can we agree that Dragon Quest 8 created Super Saiyan Rose? I mean,
oh man!
I mean, Dragon Quest 8. I don't know. When the first time I saw Super Saiyan Rose, I was like, hey, I've seen that before.
That was one of the times where I think the Toriyama thing really, like, his influence. There's also a scene in Dragon Quest XI.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spoil it, but it mirrors the scene where Bardock holds up Goku at the end of the Bardock special, the baby Goku. It's a scene that's also in Lion King when he holds up
I know
the
what you're
child.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Dragon Quest XI. So there is Toriyama influence, bro. I mean, not to mention there's a certain character, and this is a big spoiler that I'm not going to give away, but if you played 11, you know who it is. There's a character in 11 that's basically like the Kami Piccolo. I got all the evil out of my body and it manifested itself into a new being. Like they did that with Piccolo and Majin Buu, and the character in Dragon Quest XI is like that. So they always borrow, but there's also so many things that Dragon Quest borrows from Tolkien. It borrows from time travel stories. It borrows from, I mean, it probably took some ideas from Zelda. I'm gonna give it credit, borrows from some other Final Fantasies, but it doesn't steal. It borrows it and kind of plays with it in its own way.
Yeah.
I did have a question. I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure on this, but for the US release of Dragon Quest VIII, wasn't that the Super Saiyan Rose hair exclusive for that and not actually in the Japanese release?
Oh, I don't know.
Because it was that they were pandering to the Dragon Ball crowd, essentially, with that.
There is something to that. I've never played Dragon Quest VIII Japanese, but I remember watching the trailer, and in the trailer, his hair does not get spiked up. His hair just... but it was an early trailer, so maybe they changed it before the final release.
It's a North American thing. Yeah, they only put that in North America. Yeah, 8 has a lot of content that's only in the North American version, not in the Japanese version. Like, there's that.
Including the voices, voice acting.
Voice acting, and also the menus. You know, the menus in the Japanese version are using the same menu system from the old NES games, like the little black box in top left corner. They're using that. Meanwhile, the menu system we got in the Western version is like Elder Scrolls looking, like, you have full like menus and you can look at all the pictures, all the little things and everything. They completely overhauled the game for the Western version of DQ. And yeah, the Super Saiyan thing, it was kind of a little Easter egg because a lot of people in the West like Dragon Ball Z and all that, so that's kind of a thing they did.
Not to mention that. No, I actually didn't know that either. I had a feeling that was the case because I know what he was talking about, because that's what Bob was talking about, because I've seen the non-Super Saiyan version. By the way, I meant to say Grandpa Gohan earlier, but from the end of the Bardock special. But and think about this. Here's the point I was going to make. They totally overhauled 8, and they gave it legitimately good quality of life improvements, because I like what they changed for the North American version. And I like how other games like Final Fantasy VII, the weapons, the bonus bosses were not in the Japanese version. I like that. And yet, to this day, we still can't get a motherfucking translation of 10, bro. To this day. My hatred for Square Enix grows day by day for them not giving us a translated version of that game. There are fans that would spend their time to do it for free.
Yeah.
And you can't pay somebody, even if it wasn't, you don't have to pay them millions, maybe a couple thousand to translate that game. You can't do that and make money from us. I'm ready to give you my money and you're not taking it. Trust me. I think every Dragon Quest fan is pissed at the fact that we don't have 10.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there is a fan translation of 10, or fans have translated a lot of 10 so it can be played. But I'm not quite sure how that works.
There is,
but I want an official. But I'm saying that if the fan can do it, why don't they do it? You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm wondering if it's a server thing. Like, they don't want to have to pay the money for like the servers, because Dragon Quest isn't like as big as it is here, which is a fucking crime. As Final Fantasy is.
But there is an offline version of 10 that was released on the Switch. It's 10, but it's the offline version where you don't have to have the MMO aspect. They could have translated that at least. Can we?
I remember that. That was in the Western Dragon Quest release a couple of years ago too. That they said was like, here's the list of Dragon Quest games that you guys are getting, essentially.
Eric Cortez, thank you for the subscription.
Offline was one of them.
Yeah, dude, it's very frustrating being a Dragon Quest fan and being left out so many times, dude. I'm surprised we even got that that Dragon Quest Heroes or Dragon Quest Monsters game that just came out a couple months ago. I'm surprised we even got that at the rate that they're going. You know what I mean? And that game has voice acting. So why can't they do 10 offline version? I understand the server thing. That makes perfect sense. I wouldn't even doubt it. But I have purposely avoided any spoilers for 10. That game came out in 2010. That's like almost 25 years ago, and I have avoided spoilers for it because I'm hoping and praying one day that we're going to get a release that I can enjoy it without knowing anything. And every day it's like it becomes more and more frustrating that we don't have that.
I'm frustrated about that one. I'm also frustrated we never got 4 for the PS1, which is supposed to be like the best version of of Dragon Quest 4. And I've kept on waiting. Maybe we'll eventually get a fan translation because I mod my consoles. There's something about playing the games on like the original hardware that's amazing. But I'm like, as soon as this is modded, I'll do it. But I'm looking and they're like, there's something about the coding on how the text works
the code,
that they're not able to do. So it's just like I'm hoping somebody someday cracks that. Like, just get some savant on there that can do it and crack what that is, so we can get a translation for it. Because apparently it's the same translation that they use for the DS version. Like they can import that probably pretty 1-to-1. It's just they can't get the coding right for it. It's just a frustrating thing.
I think they would have to add, because there's a couple scenes in PS1 that, like the 2 maybe, and like the party talk to your own party thing. But other than that, I think it is the same script. It should be easy. In theory, it should be easy is what you're saying. And there's something weird about the code. I read that somewhere, and it's frustrating because I really like 4. And the unfortunate reality is there are, when you play through Dragon Quest Monsters the Dark Prince, if you haven't played 4, and I'm not going to spoil that game, but I noticed it around the halfway point. At first I'm thinking, okay, well, this is a prequel, you don't have to play 4. Then certain things happen in that game that straight up reference 4, like straight up reference it. And it's very vague. It's very vague. They just show you a cutscene, and if you played 4, boom, you know where it's from. But if you haven't, there's context and there's major story elements in Dark Prince that are not going to make sense to you. You can play through the game and understand the basic story, but you're not going to understand the magnitude of certain events if you haven't played 4. And I was thinking, because logic, which is some Square Enix doesn't appear to have, is, well, they're going to release 4 for Switch, like 4, 5, and 6, and what they did for 1, 2, and 3. Release those versions like in a 3-pack, or at least make it available for download on the Switch so somebody can buy it digitally, and we still don't have it. So people are buying this game and going nuts over it. Not like that game's very well loved, Dark Prince, not even realizing that you're missing like huge context for the story if you don't know what happens in 4.
I haven't played the Dark Prince yet. That's not one. My backlog is like insane right now. But so it complements 4 really well. As like, would you say like they actually go together really well as far as like the story goes?
I don't want to spoil it, but it's the story from the villain of 4's point of view, and you find out a lot more about his backstory.
Isn't there multiple endings too? There's multiple endings to that game, right?
I've only beat it once, but I'm doing post-game stuff now, so I haven't tried that.
Wait, for DQ4 you said, or for Monsters?
For Monsters, the newest one that just came out, the Dark Prince. Because I'm almost positive online it popped up in my feed on YouTube that there's multiple endings to that. There's like a alternate ending and there's like a true ending. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I could be wrong.
I'm not sure. I haven't finished it yet. So
okay. It's either that, because I didn't know about that, or what it is I have to be careful how I say this because it's a very big twist in the game. If you remember what Final Fantasy VII Remake did
at the end,
there's a portion, well, throughout the game, but yes, mostly at the end, there's something like that here, because it starts off being a prequel and then it kind of goes in a completely different direction. And as a fan of 4, because I've beaten 4 multiple times, I'm like, oh, they're doing this. That's the other thing. They did retcon some things from 4. So you could consider it an alternate timeline in some ways, depending on how you want to rationalize it in your own head. But they tried to like give us something fresh and some surprises. But I could see hardcore fans of 4 being like, I don't like that, because there's a couple parts in the game where I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. It didn't ruin the game for me because I understand what they're going for, but it's kind of like, okay, well, there are scenes in the game that show scenes from 4, but like before what happened from a different perspective. You know, kind of like what that movie Jackie Brown did, or even like the Christopher Nolan movies, where like you see it from the good guy's perspective, but when you see it from the bad guy's perspective, it changes the context, and you're like, oh, okay, now I know why he did that. Or, oh, I guess he's not that bad. Like, one of the things that this game does, Monsters Dark Prince, that I love, is that it actually tells you and shows you why the monsters in 4 are so loyal to the villain. In all these games, you've got all these monsters running around, and they're all working for the villain, whether it be Dragon Lord or whoever the villain is of their game. But this game actually shows you why they're so loyal to him, and that's something I wish more games did.
Yeah.
That was a fun aspect.
Would you say they probably made those changes?
Hold on, Robert. Real quick, we're gonna go ahead and read some comments here. We've got, what is it? Is it IJP or is it LJP? I think it's IJP Mexican. Says what's up. Star Blast Studio also says what's good. Christian Lopez says, "Come on, Vaughn ain't that bad." And then
no, I was trolling. He ain't that bad, but he doesn't look as tough as freaking any of the Dragon Quest protagonists.
Plasma Axis says the same thing. The Final Fantasy 12 protagonist looks like he just took estrogen, and he says, "Bro, I can't," and was laughing. Christian Lopez said, "Did you mean Grandpa Gohan?" Yep, you did say that.
I did, yeah. I corrected him. My bad.
You did, yeah. It says Christian Lopez says, "Crazy how we get the better version of most DQ games."
Well, how come we can't get all of them?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Can you give us 10 already?
Let's see. And then we have, Star Blaster says, I don't know why it's so.
Bro, you know what? Dragon Quest 10.
Uh-huh.
Dragon Quest 10, bro, is that girl that puts you in the friend zone for like 15 years, bro. And you try again every few years, bro, just to see if she's softened up. That's Dragon Quest 10, bro.
It says,
unfair.
He says, I don't know why it's so common for companies to make games and not make them region locked. I mean, I guess more recently they're not region locked, but they were.
That's what I'm saying. Nowadays with the internet, everybody knows everything, so you can't hide this from us anymore, bro. You can't hide this. You can't release a Dragon Quest game and expect us not to know about it. We know everything now. In Japan, in the 90s, huh?
Oh, I was going to say, it's not just Dragon Quest. Think about the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters that everybody wanted to get a physical copy of. It's Square Enix at this point. They lock that behind their storefront, make it a limited release. It sells out in less than 2 minutes.
I mean, it's like, it's a Square issue too. Which
that company makes bad decisions.
Here's my take on that though too. It's like we were getting a lot more Dragon Quest, especially like on the DS, right? We had 4, 5, and 6, and 9, of course, on the DS.
And then 3DS had 7 and 8. So you can get any Dragon Quest game you want with a 3DS console. You can play 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's a lot.
And 9.
And 9.
Yeah.
And 9.
And 1, 2, and 3 also, or in Japan at least, you can get every single.
So there's 10 and 11 on 3DS.
There is an 11 on 3DS. I got.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. 11.
And 10 is on 3DS also.
Oh yeah, 10 is on 3DS too. Yeah.
So all of the games are on there.
1, 2, and 3 are on Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Here, but obviously, if you have a 3DS, it probably won't play Game Boy Color games.
Is the 3DS version you're saying, Sackchief? Is it like a custom made, or is it the Game Boy Color versions?
Of the first trilogy, that one, 1, 2, and 3, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. So the 3DS versions are, of course, they're ports of the Nokia phone version from like 2005, like every version of 1, 2, and 3 we have nowadays. So. It's the same as the mobile port essentially.
Okay. And the mobile port is not that bad. Like in my opinion, I prefer the mobile version of 1, 2, 3 than the Switch version, because the Switch version used that smooth like filter.
Yeah. It's at least pixel. It at least keeps pixel art of some kind on the mobile version. I prefer 1, 2, and 3's mobile version also. But they're all the same version essentially.
I don't like the mobile version because my finger, like, and this is all just me. You know, when you're playing. You got the phone and like your finger moving up. It always bugged me.
Yeah,
it's kind of wobbly.
My favorite version is the Super Nintendo version. I actually have the Super Famicom versions of them.
Me too.
So like, I don't know if you know that you can actually get them modded with like the fan translations, the cartridges themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all over eBay. It's all over eBay. Everywhere. It's everywhere, right? Yeah, with cover art and everything.
Well, there's the clone, right? But you can actually get the official carts with the fan patches. Like there's a modder, Voltar, that will actually put the fan translation onto a chip, and he'll bypass the translation chip on the other one, so it's reversible. So it's not like something that like, it's a permanent thing that's done, where you can essentially use the original cart in your Super NES and play it on a US Super NES in English. It's really freaking cool. But
awesome.
yeah, that's my favorite way to play.
Yeah.
I don't want to advocate piracy, but just download it. Make your life easier.
No, buy the original cartridges and dump the cartridge yourself, and then play it on emulator. That's totally good, you guys. Totally.
Well,
legal.
that is legal. That is legal. But but let's be real, bro. If they really wanted our money, they'd give us 10. So
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
Download it.
I mean,
listen, bro. I'm gonna be real with you. After 9 years of doing YouTube and dealing with Japanese companies, I have no sympathy for them anymore. When Shueisha gave me by the way, I have the record in Guinness Book of World Records, bro. When I got 53 copyright strikes last year from Shueisha, to where my legal team had to talk to YouTube, I almost lost my livelihood. I have no sympathy for those companies, bro. Pirate it. I don't care. Pirate it. The views expressed by me do not reflect those of Bob or Sack or any of the people in casual random encounters, but they should. And in reality, they do. Just pirate it, bro.
Screw
these companies.
That's funny.
Sack's like, no. Sack's like, no, I'm gonna lose my sponsorship.
I understand why Nintendo doesn't just put Dragon Warrior 1 through 4 on NSO.
Like, they're allowed to.
I think it's Square. Yeah, they probably need Square.
Well, Square and also Yuji Horii has like this. It's like it's kind of like a George Lucas kind of situation. With,
oh God.
Yeah, like he has like ownership over the NES versions, and he's like protective of them. And you noticed that those original versions were never ported, aside from that Wii collection, but they were never ported ever. And it's always been remakes of like the mobile port, and like it's always been kind of strange, right?
Yeah.
But
and those are the weaker versions usually.
Those are the weaker versions because they are missing content, first of all, and then you have the fact that Horii, first of all, he's this really smart dude. He has ownership over a lot of the games he made at NX Corporation back when he first started out. He managed to he must have lawyered up or something, because he owns the copyright for a lot of that stuff. His first few games, like his tennis game, he owns that. He probably owns like the rights to the original NES versions. Yeah, it is smart. And at least he, makes remakes of the games. He doesn't keep it, for himself. But there's like a lot of weird technical reasons we haven't had ports of the NES, the Famicom versions of Dragon Warrior. Just like a lot of weird rights issues. Yeah. And Nintendo kind of owns Dragon Warrior 1. NX, this company that doesn't exist anymore, owns like 2, 3, and 4 on the NES. It's really just a lot of weird rights issues going on.
But to Bob's point, that Square should work with Nintendo, even if they can't get the original versions, have them like what Final Fantasy Pixel remasters did, have those available in the store. Dude, if I'm a gamer and I fall in love with Dragon Quest like I did when I was a kid, and the only way for me to play is to pay like $7, because it's not going to be expensive, $10 to download 4, 5, and 6, I'm going to do it, bro, because here's the thing, and I'm going to say something really controversial now, as if me advocating piracy wasn't already controversial. I'm going to say something even more controversial. All these kids out here that blow money on mobile games, I'm going to buy Dokkan Stones, like crack. Imagine if you took that money and bought a real video game. Imagine if those $15-$20 that you spent on stones for a character is going to be obsolete in about a month, right? And a game that we're like, oh, look at me, I pushed the button. Like those garbage games, you could actually have a real experience with a real video game, with a real story that might actually and probably will move you emotionally. But I want the new Goku on Dokkan. Look, it's pretty. Look at the pretty art. Here, go take my money, Bandai. Take my money. Why don't you put it to something that's valuable?
Exactly, like DQ. Like you could buy DQ5 on your phone. People always ask me what my favorite mobile game is. I'm like, there's this game Dragon Quest on there. It's a whole game. and it's really amazing, and you can just play it on your phone, and nobody ever wants to buy it. You know, it's always going on sale. Nobody cares.
Well, that's why you gotta be like me and pressure them, bro. We didn't work with Godzilla, but you gotta pressure them, bro. You have to pressure them. You have to give them tough love, bro. Threaten them. Threaten their children, bro. I didn't go that far with Kenshin, but I was about to for Godzilla.
For you guys don't know, he was on me like almost every day. Like, go watch Godzilla. Go watch Godzilla.
I warned you, and then watch. You're gonna see it, and you're gonna go, oh man, I'm so sorry. And I'm gonna pull a Jesus and say, I don't know you. From Matthew, bro, whatever book that was where he said that. I don't know you.
So yeah, I wanna ask you guys this: who is your favorite character design in Dragon Quest? Like, out of all, I'll say any character. It doesn't have to be the main character.
That's a big question.
Like, for me, it's a mix. Like, I like the nomad style of DQ5's like protagonist,
the Arabian Night style.
It's pretty cool. And he doesn't have a sword. He has a staff or cane or whatever you would call it that he has in his hand, which I think is pretty cool. But at the same time, like, you got 3, which looks just like Gohan.
Well, 3's the most alpha protagonist of the whole franchise.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's kind of well, not really. I was gonna say he kind of started it all, but then there's kind of spoilers to that. So
he's the centerpiece. Mm-hmm. He's the centerpiece of the original trilogy, and he's also very recognizable. When that Smash trailer dropped, he was the one that was rumored, and they wound up being 4 Dragon Quest protagonists. So we were eating good. I remember the amount of trash talk that I said to Kingdom Hearts fans, bro. Because remember, Sora, please.
I got this.
We want Sora. I've got that too, but I never.
Yeah.
I have it too. I was bummed we didn't get Sora.
We want Sora. Nobody cares about Dragon Quest. I was trolling them for days over that, bro.
What about the Goku rumors?
He ended up being the last one revealed, so.
Yeah, true. And I'm happy they got it. I mean, I like Kingdom Hearts. I'm just fucking with them, but like, you know what I mean? It's fun when you're a Dragon Quest fan. Anytime we've taken so many L's throughout the years that anytime you can take a win like that, it's a special time. Anytime Dragon Quest breaks records or does really well, we stick it to the other RPG. It's not Dragon Quest versus Final Fantasy. It's Dragon Quest versus every RPG out there, bro. It's a battle royale.
And correct me if I'm wrong,
because this is the granddaddy of all of them.
And
without Dragon Quest, nobody else would exist.
And it doesn't even get treated right.
For the voice acting, didn't they? I don't know if they said it in the Smash Direct itself on the reveal, or maybe they said it later on. But didn't they say like some of the voice actors? I think like Dragon Quest 4's voice actor Solo is Trunks' voice actor from Dragon Ball.
Yes.
And then weren't the other ones also Dragon Ball voice actor? Or like
that's something I would know, and I don't know.
Link from Ocarina of Time voice actor was Erdrick, I think.
Yeah.
Or, like the Dragon Quest 3 guy, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. Yeah, there was a lot of like famous voice actors that they got for the characters to do like grunts and like screaming and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny. I play as Hero a lot, and I never pay attention to the voices. I'm always trying to make sure I win. But it's something I gotta go back to and listen.
You laser focus on winning instead of like enjoying the aesthetic of the game, which sucks. But in Dragon Quest, because it's turn based, I feel like you appreciate the art more, you appreciate the music more because you can take your time. I think a lot of these like I don't want to disrespect Gen Z, bro. Let's just say Sax peers. A lot of them can't handle a turn-based games, and it's like, but all turn-based is, and this is from Yuji Horii himself. He said this: turn-based is just just chess with different rules.
Yeah,
So are you telling me that you can't play chess? I got Dokkan stones. Oh, I gotta get the new Vegito. It's that every time I think about those fans, that's what pops in my head, bro. Hey, can you read a book? I can't, bro. I'm on Twitter. Geekdom bash Dokkan. I gotta write a mean tweet. That's all of them, bro. Thank God they're not here. Thank God that everyone in the Dragon Quest fandom is normal, right, Sack? Isn't the whole Dragon Quest fandom totally normal, reasonable people?
Yeah, the whole fandom of Dragon Quest is totally normal. No crazy people at all. No
they
psychos.
would never try to cancel you, not in Dragon Quest. They respect their content.
I think you're scaring Robert. He's got that face I'm not sure if I signed up for this.
There's a lot of history. There's a lot of history, bro.
It's not a Dragon Quest thing. It's an internet thing, okay?
It's an internet thing.
Every fandom has got crazy psycho people, parasocial. Especially if you're like a YouTuber, you're like a guy who's like making videos and stuff. People are gonna latch onto you for good and bad reasons.
I did a whole Twitter thing about that. It's funny though, because once in a while this guy will hit me up and it'll be like, man, this Dragon Quest fan. I'm like, yeah, well.
It's funny. I got a comment.
To the club.
I got a comment for one of my.
I guarantee you, I've seen it.
For one of my controller reviews. And I said in the controller that I wasn't a big fan because like my thumbs, like they don't reach like perfectly, and like it kind of hurts my thumbs. And the comment I got was like, the controller doesn't suck, which I never said. I just said I wasn't a fan of it. And then he's like, you're just mad because you have baby hands. I'm like, okay, like
you should have been like, your mom doesn't think I have baby hands. You just said that, bro.
Nah, I just left it like that. Like, I'm just gonna be like, whatever,
I'm just saying, if he's gonna troll you, can troll him, bro. Yeah, it's not like you're not trying to make the guy kill himself or anything like that, bro. You're just trying to be, witty back.
Sackchief, what's your favorite Dragon Quest character design? Like I said, it doesn't have to be main character. It could be any character.
Yeah, there's a few characters I think are pretty cool looking. I like the martial artist kind of characters mostly, like the DQ3 martial. Yeah, like I like the girl from Dragon Quest 3 martial artist. I like Elena's design from DQ4, and I think the best design in the whole series is actually the Dragon Quest 8 protagonist. I think his design is just so recognizable and iconic, and the color kind of the just kind of color scheme, you could probably instantly recognize that character from like a mile away. That's the kind of character design I think the series needs to have more of. Definitely, I feel like they've definitely gone downhill since the DQ8 protagonist in terms of character designs, because the latest ones aren't quite as good, I don't think.
You weren't a fan of like 11's design?
No, I don't like 11's design. I think 11's kind of a really lame looking character, honestly. The long hair.
17.
The long hair doesn't really do it for me. The kind of derpy looking dim-witted face kind of doesn't do it for me. Kind of staring off into the distance, like doesn't know what the hell is going on around him. The purple, the green boots, like it's. I don't like the 11's design at all. I really don't like it that one. Yeah.
I like it, like the purple, like purple's my favorite color, so I like Jade.
I definitely like Jade's design.
Jade is probably one of the most badass women, a woman that Akira Toriyama has designed, in my opinion.
Maybe the most badass when you think about it.
Yeah, like literally probably one of his best female designs.
Well, you mean like not only like character design, but like story design. I think like Jade is probably my favorite female protagonist in an RPG.
But if you've ever played 4, late game, Alina is the most dangerous character on your party every single time.
Is Alina because I've only played
the girl,
I haven't
chapter
finished...
2.
Okay, gotcha.
The princess.
Yeah.
So late in the game, she becomes unbelievably strong, and like she hits twice a lot of times. So it's like boom, 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 and when you look at her design, she's like a little like petite girl. Yeah. But yet when in the game, because Jade looks like she'll kick your ass, but in the game, Alina she does the most damage of any character, like physical attacks, and she very often gets a lot of critical hits.
Yeah,
and you will destroy people with her, and she's always in my party, always in there.
No, she has to be. I mean, she'll like you have her in her party, she'll wreck shit, man. She's amazing.
She's powerful, bro. Yep. I love it. I love that character.
Nobody's a Rab fan.
Oh, Rab? Dude, Rab's badass. Yo, Rab, right?
I like Rab. What's wrong with Rab?
Rab's awesome. Rab's like this old, like, he like traveled the whole world and he like knows everybody and he's seen some stuff. Like he's cool, right?
He's a martial arts master.
I think they should have made a spin-off starring him instead of Eric. I don't like that they made an Eric game of Treasures.
I agree.
It should be Dragon Quest, Rab's adventures, like going around, like, picking up ladies and stuff, going to different cities, like having a good time. Okay.
Eric. I don't know. For me, like Eric wasn't, and I get like there's fandom for him, but like I don't know. I just think he's not generic. Generic's probably like the wrong word, but
He was just
his
a bro.
backstory. His backstory's not bad though, with his sister and everything.
His backstory's pretty
like
cool.
that.
I don't know.
I think all the characters in 11 have good backstories.
Because 11, I like Jade, Rab. I don't want to spoil the other character you get, even though you probably should play.
I like him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's cool. Yeah.
Who am I missing? There's Eric.
I will say
Serena
this.
and Veronica.
I will say this about 11. As much as I love Toriyama's art, this is kind of similar to what Sackchief said, but in reverse. I love the story of 11 and the characters, but the character designs of the final boss and the true final boss, not a fan. I don't like the way they look. There's a lot of Dragon Ball in them, and not in a good way, and not in a good way.
You know why they look so weird too, right? Because the Dragon Quest team doesn't really tell Toriyama, hey, tone it down a bit. They just kind of like let him do whatever the hell he wants. Yeah,
it's like with Dragon Ball. This guy will write a plot hole and nobody will tell him. We'll just put it in the movie, and then later on try to fix it. That happens multiple times with Dragon Ball.
He almost forget Super Saiyan 2, like he made Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, or something like that when he was.
He got him confused in an interview. Yeah, that did happen. But yeah, for me, I do think 11. That's one of the weaker things about 11 is I don't like the designs of the regular bosses aren't bad. It's just the final boss and true final boss look ugly, and not in like a cool ugly, just like a ugly you could have done better.
So
Robert,
what's your
reminded me very much of? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say what is your favorite character design from Dragon Quest?
Me
or Robert?
Oh, Robert.
I'm with Sackchief about 8. I love the Traveler look because that's kind of like what that was. Like that was such a definitive. I'm on the road. It's beat up.
Yeah, looks like good point.
Like it's like this is the adventurer. Like there is a sense of adventure with that, and that was something that was really striking when I played it for the first time. I love that design. Second, Jade, because just
two big reasons. Yeah.
Reasons. I don't know. She's the best.
Two very large reasons. Okay.
No.
Well, Jessica had that too. They all do. Really.
I mean, if you were to go with that, Jessica would be more of that. But no, Jade looked like she could beat the crap out of you. She was also just both the very could be very soft and very, very harsh at the same time. Like the design for her was just great and one of the best that Toriyama has ever done. And she's also my other favorite, I'd say, of designs.
She's like my favorite character in that game as far as like companions go. I feel that way of all of them, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses. But I think Jade is like the best. Like companion in that game.
I completely forgot when I was mentioning the character. I forgot to mention Sylvando too. Like I like Sylvando a lot too. Like he's actually
comic relief.
Yeah, I mean, I like his whole backstory and everything's pretty cool too. And,
no, it's not just that Sylvando was the comic relief though. Like he was like represented strength. Like it was like he comes in and you think he's gonna be like just the comic relief, but he is like an emotional heart and strength and physical strength for the party, and it's just such a great. He's just one of the also another one of the best characters in the game. So it's just character wise, I'd say that 11 was incredibly strong and incredibly deep, but I also agree about the protagonist not being the best protagonist design that they've had, and I'm curious to see what they do with 12. But I give because I'm freezing up here a little bit with 9 and 10. There's a lot of create your character with that, so it's kind of easier to because you got to remember it's not like they had a definitive. This is the protagonist. For those games, it was like, here is your created protagonist for these games. There's nothing really definitive there, and we haven't actually had a definitive protagonist design since 8. Like 11 has been the first, like, solid design we've had since 2004.
I mean, technically, 9 and 10 have a generic like like
like
character
the what you're supposed to look like,
Yeah,
or what like the generic,
yeah. They have like the generic one because like
for the promotionals,
reuse, exactly, because they reuse like Inten, the guy with the red. He has like red armor or something like that. And I believe he almost kind of looks like the one from 9 too. So they had that generic design, but it's not like as big as like 11 and everybody else is.
Right, but it's supposed to be as generic as possible because you're supposed to be able to customize that.
Yeah.
Be like
Correct.
You are supposed to be able to insert yourself into the game. You're supposed to customize this avatar to yourself. It's not like this is the protagonist of this story. We have not had that since 2004.
So I'm curious. Does everybody think 11 is the worst design out of all the main protagonists? Because like to me, I think it's 7. Like I'm not a fan of 7's design.
Well, 7 looks like you look like the guy from 7 right now, bro. You got the same color clothes.
I do. That is true. I do.
Yeah, you do look like him now, bro. So you're burying yourself there. No, you know what? I agree. I think 11 and 7 probably have like and also 6. The main guy from 6 has like the same look as the main guy from 3 with different clothing. So, but I agree. I think 7 and 11. It's between those two. It's got to be.
11 probably for me.
I'd say 11 for me. I give 7 a little bit more slack because you're so young in 7. That looks like a kid that just threw on like
that's true.
Parents clothes and went on an adventure. Like story wise, it fit.
I mean, he's a fisherman too, or fisherman's son. Yeah.
So
you know what's funny? The design for 6, it always has It feels like it's the same exact art. I'm trying to think what picture. There's a picture in Dragon Ball Z. It's a character. I can't remember which one it is, but it does the same exact pose. It might be Goku. It has the mouth open and everything. Like if you could like Google search real quick, like
Vegito.
Ball. Is it Vegito? Yeah, Vegito. Yes, he was doing the same exact thing. And I was like, wait, is this just Vegito art? But they just changed it a little bit.
Well, here's what's wacky is I think that game might have come out right after the Vegito part of the manga. I think that game it was right around that time. I want to say it was 95, 90, right? 95,
no,
96.
The art he's talking about is the DQ6 DS cover art, which is a lot later.
Yeah.
Oh, that's later. Yeah, that's DS.
You remember the panel though when Vegito like first fuses or whatever?
Yeah,
and
he has like something like that. Yeah, pose.
Yeah. When he says all right.
Yeah, that's the DQ6 cover art. Basically, it's the same thing.
Yeah, because if you look at it, it's exactly the same. Like if you were to put the two pictures
traced
over
himself,
each other.
bro. Toriyama traced himself. Or somebody else did it, bro, and credited him.
Yeah, I mean that's
didn't Yamamuro do a lot of the promotional art for some of the later games instead of Toriyama?
Which
I've heard that.
It's 100% true. So like
I know he did it for Chrono Trigger, the DS Chrono Trigger version. I know he essentially just redrew a lot of that.
And I also think that Nakatsuru for a while, not now, but back in the day, Nakatsuru did some of the Dragon Quest promotional art when Toriyama couldn't. That I do know.
Wait, Geekdom, who's the lady who did the episode of Bardock manga again? Because
Naho Oishi.
Naho Oishi, right? She did.
She's good too.
She's done some Dragon Quest stuff too. Let me.
Yeah, she's good at mimicking Toriyama style, bro. She's very good at that.
Dark Prince, none of the artwork was from Toriyama, right? I'm almost
positive. Well, the original designs were the original.
The original ones.
Still.
Say it again.
Oh, that's Sorrow still, the protagonist of the Dark Prince, if I remember right.
It is, but he's younger and he has different clothing. So like somebody else had to have designed him, or Toriyama designed just him, and everybody did everything else. Because the way he looks in 4 as a villain is different than how he looks in Monsters as a hero. Yeah,
it is a different look. Like it's not even like
it's a different look.
Age thing.
He's shorter too. Yeah, he is shorter. And also, there are a lot of extra characters in Dragon Quest Monsters Dark Prince that were not in 4. Like you meet people that you didn't even know existed in 4. Like in Dark Prince, you meet Sorrow's like family. Like he has a family. You understand what I'm saying? And you meet them in the Dark Prince. It's wild. Like it's a great it's such a great idea. Yuji Horii has some really great ideas for these games. Yeah. That's really why this series is so good. Right when you think he's done, bro, he busts out some genius idea and you're like, all right. Dragon Quest 11, when I first played 11, bro, right, I'm over here thinking that he fell off because the story for 6 is kind of The story for 8 is very basic, so it's not as good as the older story. So I'm like, okay, well, and then by the time you get done with 11, bro, you're like, this is the greatest story since the Bible. You're over here like,
gotta play Act 3. You gotta play Act 3.
Yes,
though,
you have to play Act 3.
Fun fact.
Yes, you have to play. If you don't,
like,
you haven't really beaten.
Great.
You haven't beaten the game until you beat Act 3.
So there's a buddy of mine. He never played Dragon Quest. He was asking which one to play, and even though 5 was my first, it's like, you know what, play 11, because I know the type of person you are. You love Kingdom Hearts, you love Final Fantasy, you love stuff like that. So I think you'll ease into 11, but you have to play it all the way through, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And he is in Act 3 now. He's like, man, like, it's a really good game, like a really good RPG. That it's a lot better than what he thought it was gonna be.
But he's not gonna fully grasp Act 3 if he hasn't played 1, 2, and 3.
That's true.
I told not grasp. Me and Sack.
4, 5, and 6.
Well, 4, 5, and 6 doesn't have much to do with 11.
Very little. There's some things, but not a lot. It's not like 1, 2, and 3. But here's the thing. Sack and I.
I'm trying to think. I don't remember anything except for
the Zenithian sword is in 11.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
And some of the monsters are.
Well,
and I don't want to spoil it, but there may or may not be a god dragon also. So, but I don't know if that's the same one from Zenithia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like in Dragon Quest, there's multiple god dragons.
Is the actual Zenithian sword there? Because I know there's the sword of Super Light.
Not officially there. So the Super Light.
It looks officially. Yeah, it looks like
kind of like it looks like it, and I've theorized that that's what the deal is.
Okay.
It looks like
but it could also be an It could also be an Easter egg too, because they love doing that.
Yeah.
It felt like what 11 did was to create an origin that split like 3 different timelines to explain. Essentially, there's 3 different timelines that have occurred that we essentially have now after everything has happened. Like if you look.
Wait a minute. You got to be careful because look, hold on. I don't want to interrupt you, not to be rude, but 11 has such a phenomenal story that I don't know if saying it on here is a good idea because
spoilers.
I agree. Let me explain what I mean. I have had friends that I've known for years. I beat that game in 2018 and I still haven't told them anything because there's so much that happens, not just in the Act 3, but in the end of the game when you beat the final boss. That last, like, at the ending of the game's like 30 minutes, like a 30-minute ending. Then you have to go back up to the tree and all that stuff, right? But I'm just saying that explanation from the dragon in that place, I'm not going to spoil.
Mm-hmm.
That's just that right there is like a lot is what I'm trying to say. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and I had to explain. I'm going to take credit for this, Sack. I'm sorry. I had to break that story down to Sack because Sack didn't fully grasp it. And I explained to him like what it meant when the Time Queen did the thing and what it meant. And the real answer is in the mid-credit scene when you have that emotional reunion that I'm not going to spoil. And then the post-credit scene, which is the scene from another game. And I'm not going to go into that, but like all that shit, like you have to like, what's the word I'm looking for? By the way, I'm high right now, so forgive me. You have to really think about it. Like it doesn't explain it to you like this happened. You know, you have to like think about what happened. But I'm not gonna. I'm sorry for interrupting. I did.
No, it's all good. I was
just worried you were gonna go into some. There's a big. Yeah, I was worried about that. I got friends in the chat who haven't beat it yet.
Yeah,
it was a good call.
So, Geekdom, what's your favorite?
Let me tell you why I say that. There's a very big reason. Dragon Quest 11 is the only game that's ever made me cry. That's the only video game to ever make me cry, and it was during the ending. Now, all my life, I've taken those fat Final Fantasy. Oh my God, when Aerith died, it was the first time I cried in the game, and I clowned them for years, bro. Look at you crying over a pixel, bro. You're crying over ones and zeros. That's not even a real person. It's not even a real actress, and I would make fun of them. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like people say Aerith dying in 7. Spoiler.
Yeah.
I like how I'm allowed to spoil 7, but he's not allowed to spoil 11, bro. No, listen,
dude, it's 1997. It's like it's completely different.
That's true, but And you know what sucks, bro? Similar to what I said about 4, there's kids that have played Final Fantasy VII Remake that never played the original, so they have no idea what that ending means. And it's kind of similar with Dragon Quest XI. You are not going to grasp the absolute greatness. And Yuji Horii did something at the end of Dragon Quest XI, the true ending. He did something that I've never seen a video game do. Final Fantasy VII, not really. Like, there's great endings in many games. I love Final Fantasy IV's ending and 6, but this is different than great. He literally, like what Bob was saying, I'm going to say it for those who have played the game in a cryptic way. If 11 had never happened, a lot of the other games wouldn't have happened. 11 literally creates the existence of the other games. But it's not really a prequel. It's a sequel and a prequel, because there's like, I'm not going to go into the time travel stuff, but there is some time travel stuff. So even though in the guidebooks it says it takes place after all the other games, when there's time travel involved, you know. So
think
anyway,
Ocarina of Time. I mean, if you want to think Legend of Zelda and Ocarina of Time, I think that's the best comparison I can make.
It is. The difference
You
is
said the guidebook of 11 says that?
A guidebook. It might have been like a Jump article. I remember I talked about it in Sack's old Discord server. They said that when they were promoting the S version on Switch, they said that 11 takes place after all the other ones, and when you go to like the little toggle, the you know how 11S has that extra mode where you can go to other that one, so they're saying that happened because the guy says the toggle's like your warp way into the past. Now, past could also mean like, it could also be an Easter egg for Dragon Quest fans. It might not mean literal past. It might be like the past of the series, because the game is very meta. Like the Dragon Quest 11 knows what it is. You know what I mean? It's very meta. It's not super duper meta. It's a little bit meta. Like it knows what it is. So like it knows its own identity. But yes, I'm high as shit, dude. And I'm talking about Dragon Quest. I'm high and I'm talking about Dragon Quest, which is why this is the best podcast ever. But yeah, go ahead, man. I'm sorry. You were saying.
No, you're good. What's your favorite
design?
Design, yeah.
Oh yeah, I like the bad guys, bro. Look, I'm gonna say it right now, bro. Sephiroth wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Sorrow. That's freaking Sephiroth. Type in Pasaro into Google Images, bro, and you tell me that's not motherfucking Sephiroth, bro. That's Sephiroth. We had Sephiroth before you. Eat it. Get on your knees and eat it. Oh, Sephiroth's the best villain ever. Get on your knees and eat it, bro. There would be no Sephiroth if not for Sorrow. Am I lying?
You're not wrong. You told me about that, and I remember seeing it. I was like, oh wow, yeah, he does look a lot like Sephiroth, like long hair. Everything design.
But also what I like about him is that he's the first villain of the series that you can actually relate to. That's why I think what they did with the Dark Prince makes sense. Because when in the third act of 4, you find out why he's so mad at humans. And it's like, oh, okay, I'd be pretty pissed off too if I were him. It's one of those type of situations where the bad guy's kind of understandable, you know, and I think he did that. Whereas the villains of like 1, 2, 3, 5, they're just evil. They're just demonic. Like, especially with 2, because the villain in 2 is a god of destruction, by the way. Literally, Toriyama refers to the final boss of 2 as a Hakaishin. I did a video on my channel called The First God of Destruction, and it's him before Beerus. But anyways, that's one of my favorite designs of all time. The final boss from 2, bro. He's a fucking dragon with a snake tail, a big ass mouth, 6 arms, and they have swords. It's what the fuck?
What's his name?
Malroth?
Malroth? No, he doesn't have swords.
Malroth is his name. Saido is his Japanese name, and I like how
with swords. Isn't it the from?
He's not. He has 2 arms, and he doesn't. I don't think he has swords.
Isn't that?
Or he has like.
No, he doesn't have swords. I'm thinking of. I'm sorry, I got my monsters confused. I'm thinking of a different monster. No, it's 2 arms, and then he has legs, but they look kind of like arms.
Yeah,
yeah, and they have claws, not swords. I'm thinking of that's another monster that has the swords. Yeah. But still, that's still a great design. Yeah. Anyways, and you know he's got a necklace with a skull on it. What's up with that? You know, and so anyways. I like that. I love the final boss of 4. He has multiple forms. I love that look. The final boss of 3, I love the way the final bosses look. If you want me to be on, not in 11, and maybe not so much even 8, because he was fat in 8.
Yeah,
I used to be fat. I used to be fat. If I was still fat, I'd say 8 was my favorite. But because I'm not fat anymore, I can be honest and say it's not my favorite. You understand?
I feel like there was like a throwback to Majin Buu a little bit with 8
because he's fat.
Yeah, it's like the big, the bigger designs that they were going with.
In 11,
literally bigger. But like
what's it called?
7 looks like the freaking like Satan, and 7's supposed to be Satan. Of all the Dragon Quest games, 7 is the one that borrows the most from like Judeo-Christian. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
7 is the only one. Well, 7 is one of them that I'm like halfway in, and then I stopped. I got to get back to it.
Have you picked up on that though?
7 definitely is based on it's based on Abrahamic sort of faith. It's got a lot of biblical
Bible stuff.
It really like the villain of 7. It's Satan. It really is just Satan. Pretty much.
I haven't, because where I'm at in 7, I'm trying to think. I think I'm in the time or island or whatever you want to call them, without saying spoilers, where I think there's robots that attack.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm at.
You know that 7 was supposed to be Chrono Trigger 2? Did you ever hear that thing that about Yuji Horii?
No, I never knew that. But I right away as I was playing, I said this has some Chrono Trigger vibes, because a lot of the story with the time traveling, I picked up on that right away. I was like, this is very Chrono Trigger like.
He said in an interview that had they done Chrono Trigger 2, the idea it wouldn't have been the same as the first game. Yeah. The concept of the game where you find stone tablets to go through different parts of time would have been used in Chrono Trigger 2. It's kind of like that story about how Xenogears was actually Final Fantasy 7 and then it became its own game. Yeah. What kind of universe would we live in, bro, if Final Fantasy 7 was Xenogears, bro? Everyone would be rocking their freaking Fae outfits on. You'd have like the chick. Now we have Cloud and Iris, and oh my gosh, she died in the game. But if Xenogears was Final Fantasy 7, everyone would have been like, have you played Xenogears, by the way?
I haven't.
It's been years.
But okay, do you remember what I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about though. Yeah, because I remember when it came out, and I definitely wanted to get it because I love the mechs and everything. The
only problem with that game is it'll confuse the hell out of you. Yeah. I had to grow up to understand it. I beat that game in high school. I had to grow up to understand what happened, because that's a very confusing story.
The Xenoblade Chronicles stuff, and that's what made me want to get into Xenogears, because I love.
Well, that's where it all started.
Yeah,
but
moving back to that.
Yeah, you were mentioning that.
Comment.
Yeah.
So he said that.
I did cry when Eris died, but not for the reasons that Square Enix wanted me to.
By the way, I was just teasing you, bro.
Best materia on her, and I lost it. And when you have materia on her and it's lost, it's
done
gone
forever. Yeah.
I was 10, and I was looking through all of my materia for it to put it on somebody else, and I just started to sob. It was
by the way, I just want to tell you, when I made fun of people earlier, bro, that cried during that scene, I was only joking around. You look like you could probably whoop my ass, bro. So I just want you to know that you look like one of those like white rappers from Canada who has like friends in the hood, bro. I don't want no drive-bys, okay? I don't want you to do a drive-by in my house. All right, I'm just letting you know. I was only teasing them, but the point I was gonna make was I did make fun of them, and then when Dragon Quest 11 happened and I saw the mid-credit scene, I was double Niagara Falls coming down my face, bro.
What were you gonna say, Sackchief?
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I guess we were talking about Dragon Quest 7 and Chrono Trigger and how they're similar to each other. Yeah, Chrono Trigger has a really interesting relationship with Dragon Quest. They say that
it's a good game. Also.
It's a great game. I like it a lot.
It's a masterpiece. I think Dragon Quest fans should play that game, and I think if you play Chrono Trigger and liked it, you should play Dragon Quest, because they are very, very, very similar. They're almost like unofficially, and Chrono Trigger is like unofficially a Dragon Quest game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and a Final Fantasy game. It's like
and a Final Fantasy game, bro.
Yeah,
but not a Disney game.
It's honestly my all-time favorite game. Chrono Trigger is.
Hold on, let Sackchief finish what he'll say. That's
a good choice, though. That's a good choice.
It's an interesting game, and its relationship with Dragon Quest is very interesting. It came out the same year as DQ6, so Horii was actually working on that game at the same time as 6. So, and I don't know what your opinions are on 6, but it's kind of like the franchise's black sheep a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody likes it. I think it's an okay game, but I think it definitely there's areas where it's a bit rushed, and it's kind of obvious that Hori was putting in a lot more time into Chrono Trigger rather than Dragon Quest, and kind of let things.
You're talking about 6 or 7?
6. So
I agree with you. Yeah, 6. There are parts of that story that are strange.
Did 6 come out around the same time as Trigger?
It came out the same year as Trigger. Fun fact: the best-selling game of 1995 was not Mortal Kombat 3. You know what it was?
Tell them, bro.
It was Dragon Quest 6.
Oh.
Dragon Quest 6 was... And here's another fun fact. I believe
in the U.S. or in Japan?
No, it never came out in the U.S.
Oh, that's true. You're right. Yeah.
Because, but no, trip out on this one, bro. That game, Dragon Quest 6, was the first Super Famicom game that was $100 American converted to Japanese. Most Super Nintendo games were either $50 to $70 back then, right? Give or take, some were $40. That game was $100, dog. You heard, and people bought it. They had the Japanese by those little balls, bro. They were squeezing them, bro. I'm serious, bro. You imagine paying $100 for one game?
Yeah, it was expensive for the time. It was crazy, and it's still. People will never admit that this was the best-selling game. And if you ever Google best-selling games in 1995, people always report it as being Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, whatever. It was Dragon Quest 6. Dragon Quest 6 outsold it, and it only released in one country, in just Japan, and it outsold every other video game that whole year.
That's crazy.
Even Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger actually. It's an interesting game because the higher ups of Square Enix always consider it to be like a failure of a game, and it's not as popular as a lot of people make it seem like it is. It really didn't sell that much. But like Geekdom was talking about, Dragon Quest 7 is really similar to Chrono Trigger in that they kept on going on with the time travel thing. Yuji Horii is a big fan of Back to the Future, and you can see the influence.
We all are.
I'm a huge fan, but you can see the influence in Dragon Quest and in Chrono Trigger because the rules of time travel in those games are the same as the rules of time travel in Back to the Future, where you cause something to happen and then people start fading away, and it doesn't make sense, but it's just like fantasy, right? It's the same rules, and you can see the influence a lot. I think Dragon Quest 7 though is as a time travel story, it's very convoluted because it's a lot harder to digest than Chrono Trigger, and it's a longer game, like 100-hour long game.
Much longer.
Yeah.
Much longer.
Super long JRPG that takes forever. You stop playing it for a week, you come back, you don't know where the hell you're supposed to be. There's and the reasons why it's such a weirdly designed game, DQ7, is because Chrono Trigger, the reason why it's easy to digest is because there's 5 different time periods, and each of them are very distinct. They have a very distinct look, soundtrack, time period. You know what the future and the antiquity and the prehistoric. But with Dragon Quest 7, you have like 20, like 30 different time periods you can jump around back and forth between. They all look exactly the same. They're all just medieval times, and it's like so hard to keep track of them sometimes. You have to, because that's why the 3DS version had to give you this hint system, because people nowadays would not be able to play that game. The 3DS version had to be changed so much compared to the PS1 version.
Makes it easier for those dumb Americans that can't figure stuff out on their own.
Yeah.
I want to go on GameFAQs. My favorite one, bro, is the people who buy a new game and they're sitting there reading the game, the walkthrough as they play it, bro. Man, why don't you just try and beat the game on your own, bro? Try and beat the game on your own first, and then go to a walkthrough.
Exactly.
I gotta buy the strategy guide. I don't know. What if I get lost in a cave somewhere? What if I forget an item? Oh God!
I did have to use a GameFAQs article for Dragon Quest 4. Because I had stopped playing for a minute. If you remember, I told you that I stopped.
That's different. Yeah. There are rules. I just want to say there are rules for using it. There are commandments when it comes to using GameFAQs. 1, if you're renting or borrowing the game and you're on a limited schedule and you need help with it, that's one reason. 2, you've already beat the game and you're going on a playthrough. You're replaying the game, then you can use the GameFAQs, and then you can get what you missed. 3, if you have been stuck on a part for more than 4 or 5 days and you put the game down and picked it back up again and forgot where you were at, that's acceptable. So that fits within the criteria of I'm not a jughead. I'm not a pussy. The I'm not a pussy scale is these 3 rules. If you stay out of these 3 holes, 3 holes. What am I talking about here? Anyways, you know what I'm saying?
So yeah, continue, Sackchief.
Clip that out and make it a short, bro.
I will do that.
Call it Geekdom101 fills my 3 holes, bro, and just make it a short. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry. I'm doing comic relief. I'm Sylvando, except straight.
Were you done, Sackchief?
Yeah, pretty much for the most part. Yeah, it's kind of Chrono Trigger's an interesting game. Kind of sucks that it never got a sequel. It probably never will because Hori loves Dragon Quest so much, and Sakaguchi likes those mobile games that nobody ever plays, I guess.
I do want to say too, I don't even though Chrono Cross is a sequel, it's really more like its own thing. And I actually think Chrono Cross gets a bad rep. I understand like you're not going to be able to match up the trigger, but Cross by itself is not a bad game. It's pretty decent.
I've always said that, actually. I said on its own, Chrono Cross is like a 10 out of 10 perfect game. It's a horrible Chrono Trigger sequel.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, the way they try to tie it in, it's kind of hard. Like, I didn't even know it was a Chrono Trigger sequel till you get to the part where the ghosts of like Chrono and I forget what the other 2 characters are. Shoot, why can't I think of their name?
Bulma and Oolong.
That's what I was gonna say. But when they were there, that's like when their ghost appears. That's like I was like, oh, this has to do with Chrono Trigger. I did not know that. Like I thought it was its own thing.
I only knew because I was around when the game was coming out because I was reading all the gaming magazines back then. And in the gaming magazines, they were hyping it up as being a Trigger sequel. And they didn't know because you don't know till you play the game.
Yeah.
They didn't know how it tied in, but they were like, oh yeah, this is definitely going to take place after Chrono Trigger. And, and that's how I knew. But you're right. The game doesn't even tell you until almost at the end.
Yep. And that's how you figure it out because you have, I mean, I guess it's a 20-something-year-old game, anyways. But like Sharla and the World Leaders.
Look at him giving it away, bro. He doesn't have to give it away. He's just giving it away just because.
It's just
you do a thing and a thing and a thing.
Yeah, and you figure it out. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Real quick, because we are going low on time. What's everybody's least favorite Dragon Quest game? I have not played them all. I'll tell you that. Like, 6 is the only one I haven't played. I started 4. I'm halfway. I started 7. I'm halfway. Usually a lot of them are halfway. Yeah, I gotta finish one. I've been 1 to 11.
See, you're the type of guy. 5, you're the type of guy, bro. And I just figured you out. You're the type of guy who likes to get her wet, and then when she wants to go, you turn around and say, "Don't touch me." That's you, bro. That's who you are, bro. You're that guy.
No, I just have
to go. You try all night to get her going. She gets going, and you turn around and say, "Don't touch me. I'm going to sleep." That's you, bro.
I just had a lot of stuff. Like when I played 4. I don't remember what happened. When I played 4, something happened. With 7, it was the same thing. 7 was actually a game came out, and I was like, all right, I'll get back to this when I get it. I'm gonna play this game, and I tend to do that. Like I don't finish a lot of the games. I will say that I don't finish a lot of my games. I'll get to the end, and I'm like, I'm good. Like Tears of the Kingdom, I'm still sitting at the ending. I'm sitting there. I just gotta beat the boss, but it's like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Like I already know how it ends. Link
Tears
wins.
of the Kingdom, bro.
Yeah,
it should be called Waste of the Time, bro.
Yeah.
I love
Damn,
Tears of the Kingdom.
bro.
It was great.
I'm gonna get heat for that one.
If you played Breath of the Wild and you played Tears of the Kingdom, it's almost the same game. Like almost
I'll give you that. There's some differences though, and I do like
more.
the same here.
Tears
was more. What they improved on is
the story was much better.
Story was better. Mechanics of like traveling around was so much better. Like it doesn't rain all the time, so you can actually climb stuff this time. They improved. But anyways, we're not talking about Zelda. But yeah, like of the ones that I've played, I gotta say so far, I think 2 is the one that I am not. That's not my favorite there, or it's not. That's probably my least favorite because I really like 1.
I agree.
A lot of people, for whatever reason, don't like 1, or I've talked to people who don't like 1. I think 1 is great on its own. Like, yeah, I get it. There's no party members. Yeah, it's very simple for what it's going
works.
for.
Yeah,
exactly, it works. The fights are 1-on-1. You know, it makes sense for what it is. I enjoy it. I mean, the music in 1 is also really good. Like the map theme is probably, I won't say the best, because I still think 5 is the best, but probably the second best, I would say, in terms of music. I really like that. Yeah,
but
so,
I think you're right. Two is like the least good one. And I love there's the thing, I like playing the remakes of 2. The original one is like a cursed game.
Yeah.
But the remakes of 2, they fix a lot of the glitches and they make things easier. In 2, the NES version, you have to find these crests. Well, in the remakes, you actually have a little spot on the map that's like sparkly, so you can see, walk up to it, you pick it up. Mm-hmm. In the Nintendo game, brother, you're searching every single block of the game. Search, nothing's found. Search, nothing's found. Search. It's horrible. It's horrible. And also, 2 has one of the most unforgiving dungeons of any Dragon Quest game. The Road to Rome, dude, is like unforgiving, especially in the freaking original NES version.
And
you get
ambushed too.
The encounter rate's super high. The monsters are strong. You get ambushed by 4 green dragons at once. Imagine fighting 4 green dragons at once in real life, bro. You will shit your pants, right? Even if you have your cousins with you. And then it also has that thing in the dungeon where it's the Lost Woods thing where you go up a panel and it repeats. Mm-hmm. Where you have to go in a certain. Yeah, I hate that. I hate when games do that. I think 2 is the least good one, bro, for those reasons, honestly.
Anybody else agree, or you got a different take?
I can. 2 was a unfinished game at its core.
2 does have a good story, though. I think
it has I think 2's. You know what? The worst Dragon Quest game is still better than most games from other franchises. I gotta give it that at least. 2's remake, I think, was very. It was fun. It was kind of survival, adventure, like danger. It had that kind of thing going for it. But the thing about 2 is that, the backtracking was awful. Maybe added to the stress of the game a lot. You had the cousin, the Prince of Canik is like awful. You've got I thought 2's remake added enough hints that it ended up seeming like sort of a detective game a bit. I thought it was a good remake for the most part. And the difficulty is definitely there, but they never play tested the game. 2 went on the NES. It was delayed. It was never play tested all the way through, which is a really huge issue when you're making a game. It was rushed out the door to capitalize on DQ1's sort of cult success. There was like a million different little things that they were planning on putting in 2 that never made the cut because of how ambitious it was, and then those aspects ended up making it into Dragon Quest 3. I talked a lot about this in the I made an iceberg video a few years ago, where there's a huge chunk of that video where I just talk about 2 and all this stuff. A lot of monsters that appear in 3 were supposed to appear in 2, and they were cut from the game because they just couldn't do it. Like 3 is so much better than 2 because it just realizes what 2 was trying to do but failed. It's weird. The NES, right? So many sequels on the NES number 2 games always end up having this exact same issue, like Castlevania 2,
Final Fantasy
2, Super Mario Bros. 2, all these 2 games. Zelda 2. It's always the 2, right? The 2 is where they start doing a bunch of weird stuff. It never goes right, and then 3 is where they kind of fix everything and everything's good, and then 3 is always the one everyone likes, right? So Dragon Quest was unfortunately affected by like this curse of the second game on the NES, to call it. But the remakes, I think, fix the game a lot, make it very, very, very playable, very enjoyable for the most part. But that NES version it's a challenge just on its own. Just finishing that, it's insane,
Yeah. So do you think, because you guys have played 6, is 2 worse than 6?
Yeah. Oh
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
6 has issues, but it's still a pretty good game. Like, you know what I mean? 6 has issues, but the game is still good. 6 feels, like Sack said, 6 feels like you made a basic wedding cake and didn't put the nice, beautiful frosting around the outside. It's a finished game, but it's not a polished game. Okay. That's really how 6 feels. I think 7 did what 6 was trying to do in a similar way, because the job system is better in 7, I think, than in 6. But 6 is probably the most unremarkable one, because the thing about 2 is it came out so early in the series. It has so many great designs. It had so many new things, like the boat was a new concept, multiple party members, that by the time you get to 6, multiple party members and class systems aren't really a new thing, right? 2 feels like, wow, this is the beginning of like a new era of gaming. 6 feels like, oh, we're making just another version of a game we already made. Now, that's not doesn't mean the game's bad, right? There's tons of games that are just an old game made with new levels. I mean, Mario does it all the time, and they add a couple power-ups, and it works. It always works, right? It's the same style of game. So I think 2 is the worst, but 6 is 6. The problem with 6 is that it has to follow 4 and 5. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And 4 and 5 are like almost flawless. You know what I mean?
5 is a perfect game.
That's what I'm saying. 5 probably is flawless. Yeah. 4 is close. So it's like shit, you know, and it's in the same trilogy.
What about you, Robert? Which you agree 2's the worst?
I'd say from a technical standpoint, 2 is the worst. My least favorite was 6, though, just because a lot of the story was unfinished. It felt like Ashlyn specifically, like you never find out what her physical form was, and reading online, she was the dragon. Mm-hmm. So, and that's not something that you actually find out in the game. It's hinted at, but there's no like actual this is who she was. But with 2, it just was not polished. It was impossibly hard. Mm-hmm. It's like you beat it, and it's just like, yeah, this is like my great gaming accomplishment for like the decade.
That's one of mine. That's one of mine. Yeah.
But it's
and
just,
Ninja Gaiden.
Oh God, Ninja Gaiden. But no, with 2, it's like you play it once, you beat it. This was an experience. I'm done. I'm not going to revisit this. I've revisited 6. I've revisited every single other one. But when I was done with 2, I was done with 2. So yeah, I'd probably have to say that 2 is probably 2's I'm going to change it. Yeah, 2 is definitely the least favorite. I've revisited 6. I've never revisited 2.
Well, 6 also has that really cool. The Japanese name of 6, by the way, this is another tangent. I hate the Americanized names for these games. The Japanese name for 6 is Land of Illusion, and it's basically this the sort of Inception style storyline, which is funny because once again, Dragon Quest did it first. Nolan, Dragon Quest did it first. Nolan, you ain't the first one to make Batman. So The Dark Knight was great, but you weren't the first to make Batman. Memento is his, but like Dragon Quest 6, right? Like you're in the dream world and the real world, and it's doing that whole Matrix thing where you're not like the story, like you're not really sure what world you're in, and the music changes, and like I like 6 has got a lot of like alternate realms, like it has like a ton of like different dimensions. It kind of deals with like that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And that's always been cool, like the dream world, like the demon world. There's like, you know, like that kind of stuff, right? So there is good about that. Don't think that 6 is like a horrible game. It's just a step down from 4 and 5 is what I always
Dragon Quest 6 is still better than Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
I think so.
I agree. 6, so I can't say anything.
You should. You don't expect it to be better than 5, but you should still do it. You know, you
5's a hard act to follow. Honestly, I don't know what they expected after 5, but yeah, it's still a really good game.
5 would be nice in a cell shaded like remake style, like you recreate it in like Dragon Ball Z like Kakarot like graphics, like because I like the Kakarot like graphics they have there.
Yeah,
so,
the
like,
aesthetic.
Yeah, so like do that, but you know have 5 and 11's combat or something like that.
Well, they've already remade 5 twice. You know what I mean? That's the thing. They've already you know, you're right, because Dragon Quest 3. How many remakes does Dragon Quest 3 have? How many versions?
The SNES. There's the Game Boy
like
Color,
the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy,
and now
the mobile
remake that we should be getting one day, maybe
3.5. Right. God, I'm so excited for that one. I honestly wouldn't mind having 4, 5, and 6 in the style that they're doing 3.5. The 3
I wish.
right now.
I wish. I think they're going to show it off this week at the rumored Nintendo Direct. I think so? Yeah, I really do think we're going to see it soon. I have a strong gut feeling that this week we might see Dragon Quest 3 HD2D remake.
You sure that's not copium, bro? Because you know how it is when we get our hopes up, bro.
I have a good feeling about these kind of things usually. I'm usually right. Remember when I predicted the trilogy coming to Switch literally the day it came out, the day before it came out? Like I knew that.
I do vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at guessing things.
So hear me out too, and I had tweeted this. Is that I said, we're in the year of the dragon, right? We got Dragon's Dogma, we have Dragon Ball Daima, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
We have Dragon Ball. We have Dragon Ball bank account for me this year, bro. Thank God, because last year, brother, I was down to ramen noodles and cereal.
Oh man!
And now I'm finally gonna make some real money. No, I'm kidding. I'm over exaggerating. I was never that bad, bro.
But I do think that we'll get Dragon Quest 3 this year, and hopefully some Dragon Quest 12 news, because that was announced.
Give me a trailer, please.
I mean, yeah, a trailer would be fine. Like, I don't need it to come out this year. If a matter of fact, I would prefer it to come out next year or even a year after, when the new Switch comes out, just so that it has better hardware to run. I mean, it'll probably be on all platforms day one, because 11 now is on all platforms, so I would assume, but you never know.
You'd be surprised. Sony's kind of got Square Enix locked down. They keep making these exclusives for them. Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? It's an exclusive for PS5. I wouldn't be too surprised if Sony got Dragon Quest 12 to be an exclusive for PS5. I wouldn't be too shocked, honestly.
What they'll probably do, bro, because they love our money, even though if they really loved it, they'll do 10. Yeah. They'll release 11 on PS5, and then 2 or 3 years later, they'll do what they did with 11. I'm sorry, 12. They'll do what they did with 11S. So they'll release it for the new Switch or for like whatever system's out, and it'll be like Dragon Quest 12 EX. It'll be the same game with like more stuff.
I was
feel like, because they know we're gonna buy it. They know we're gonna buy it anyways.
So for me, because I feel like it will come to a Nintendo console, mainly because Iwata. I think they'll respect Iwata's wish from when he was alive, because he was like, Dragon Quest is very important, which is why he made sure that 4, 5, and 6 came to the West. Even 11S, like that was all his doing. Like that was the first game announced for the NX, if you remember, on the Switch. Like when they were talking about Dragon Quest 11, that was the very first game announced for the Switch.
Hori leaked the Switch's existence before it came out, and nobody did anything to him because it's him. Right?
He's Hori.
Yeah.
No, they better not do anything to him, bro.
Yeah, he's and another thing that's interesting too, if you remember that December event that was like 2 years ago now, maybe 3, where he showed his protege, right? His protege was there with him, who's basically, he's trying to get him to get involved, because I mean, Yuji Hori's pretty old now. But
I don't know, man. I don't know anybody who can tell that story that good, bro. Like,
I agree.
It's almost like, I feel like when, I hate to say it, bro, I don't want to sound morbid, but when the time comes for Hori to go into Zenithia, I feel like when that happens, Dragon Quest is done. I just have that feeling.
I think so
like,
too,
I don't think anybody in Square Enix, I don't think Square Enix as a company is capable of finding someone that can make Dragon Quest what it is without Yuji Hori or Akira Toriyama.
Or Toriyama. This is not Final Fantasy, bro. This ain't Final Fantasy where you have a whole 15 different producers from. No. This is Hori. This is like Hori's heart, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Even with Final Fantasy, like I would argue, like post Sakaguchi era, right? Like the games haven't been the same. 9
That's
was
what I'm
really
saying.
the last thing
That was
he
my
was involved
point.
with. What were we gonna say?
9 was the last great. Yeah,
like 7 remake has been pretty good so far, but at the same point, that's one that Sakaguchi had a hand in the original, and they're remaking essentially something that Sakaguchi had made. So that's I don't know if that one really counts.
That's like saying Dragon Ball Z Kai is as good as Dragon Ball Z. I mean, they're the same thing minus fillers, right? Like to me, 7 and 7 remake, even though there's differences, it's cheating. What were you gonna say, Sack?
What was I gonna say? We were just talking about how Hori. Yeah, so I also don't know who could possibly replace him, who could possibly take over this franchise. It's like, can you name anybody in this gaming industry who's been making games that long? Like anybody since
Miyamoto.
Miyamoto. Yeah, I was say Miyamoto.
That's about it.
Games though.
That's the only guy.
Miyamoto is probably the one person who's been doing it.
Technically, he stopped too, because he
stopped.
He didn't do Mario Wonder, and he didn't do Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild.
Right, so Hori's been doing it longer than anyone, if you think about it. He's been doing it since 1986, same kind of debut year as Miyamoto, I guess you could say. That's when Zelda came out. he's been doing it that long. He basically every game designer in Japan is inspired by either Miyamoto or Yuji Horii. They're like the grandfathers of the gaming industry in Japan, essentially.
Yeah.
And Horii he's got so much energy for a guy his age. He just turned 70, right?
Yeah.
He just keeps going. He keeps working on these games. He keeps meeting his fans. He keeps showing up to all these places, all these shows and conferences and ballets. He was in the Dragon Quest ballet last year. He was like dressed up and stuff. Did you guys see those?
I did not see that.
That was cool. He like dresses up like the character. Like, he was like dressed up like the Dragon Lord at one of the conventions. Like,
cool.
Yeah,
I think I did see that picture. I did see that picture of him dressed up as the Dragon Lord.
Yeah, the dude's like the best. He's like the dude, And the thing is, when he's done with Dragon Quest, the franchise is not going to be the same. It's gonna suck on. I think it's not going to be as good, honestly.
I think it'll turn into just remakes. I don't think we're gonna get it because he also comes up with the story. He's not the only one, but he comes up with the story, and he's like the only one that can come up with these great. He's a great storyteller, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's an amazing storyteller.
I agree. It's one of those things that I'm with you on that. Like, I fear change. Like, the person would have to prove themselves. Like, if Yuji Horii came in and say his protege did the majority of 12, then I would probably be like, okay, I'll give it, some like Anuma.
That's why it sucked, or that's why it was great.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we would know.
That's how you would know.
But like Anuma taking over for Miyamoto, we kind of knew his track record because he did like what was it, Twilight Princess, which wasn't. It was good.
Well, he was involved
in
Link to the Past.
Well, yeah, but he wasn't like the top, right? All the decisions were Miyamoto. Twilight Princess, I think, was the first game that he was directly like in charge, and Miyamoto actually took more of a backseat to that game. And then Majora's Mask was almost the same thing too, where he was involved a lot. So those were the two games that he really did. But like Miyamoto, like with Wind Waker and all that, right? He was in charge of everything. So if his protege, which I forgot his name, I feel like it's rude not saying the guy's name, but I don't know his name. But like if he could show up and be like, hey, like this is mainly my game, and it's good, right? Then maybe we might see a bright future, maybe, just maybe. But I would prefer, bring 4, 5, and 6 to Switch or something, right? Bring it to modern platforms so you don't have to play it on mobile.
Bring all of them, bro.
Yeah,
bring all of them. Where the hell's my 10, bro? That offline 10.
8. Like,
this is my pessimism about that. Is even if that happened and it ends up being great, there's something that Yuji Horii has that his protege would not, and that's clout with Square Enix.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, Square Enix lets Horii get away with so much. Like, they let him do whatever he wants. He's like I said, he's the guy. He's been there long.
Well, they should. They should.
He's been there longer than anyone probably at this point. He's been doing this longer than anyone. The amount of respect he commands respect, Like, he can do anything he wants. He was about to leak at the 35th anniversary. He was literally like about to leak a bunch of stuff. They had to whistle at him with a whistle to tell him to stop because he doesn't care.
Weren't you gonna offer him your entire YouTube salary for like a kiss, bro, on the cheek? Did you say that? You said you were gonna tell Horii, I'll give you my whole YouTube salary if I get to kiss your cheek, bro. You told me that story.
I can't really remember, but I probably did say that.
I will say this:
money. I want to kiss you on the cheek,
the last bit of news that I want to talk about, or last thing that I want to talk about, because we gotta end it. We've been over time a little bit, but I do want to mention like what's his name, Sugiyama, right? The composer.
Yeah, he passed away, bro, and that's
exactly.
Sucks.
And I'm wondering, how do you guys feel about the music in 12?
I don't know, man. The music in 11, I didn't think was that great, except for the older tracks.
Yeah,
I didn't like the soundtrack for 9 as much as other ones either. So I think he's already past his prime. He's already past his prime, but he's still great. His battle themes are still great. His overworld themes are still great. They might not be as perfect, but they're still pretty damn great.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
The issue with 11's soundtrack is that, well, first I played it on the PS4 before the before the orchestrated version, and it was the MIDI, and it did not fit a MIDI soundtrack like at all. Like, you're playing a PS4 game, it's absolutely gorgeous. And
it feels like
you have MIDI music, and it's like it's really bad. And then you have 11S comes out, and what sucked about that is that even if you're playing on a console that is not the Switch, it is not taking advantage of that power because it's essentially a Switch port. So you have the wonderful orchestrated music with downgraded visuals. So you got to pick what's more important to me here. But even with the visuals,
no, I would prefer
it's always going to be the music.
Well, and all the extra content.
But the extra content is what I was talking about.
Yeah. You got the extra content going on. It just kind of sucks that they didn't actually like use the assets for the PS4 on like a version for the Switch. Anyway,
right.
I played with the 8 soundtrack when I had the opportunity to, because I enjoyed the 8 soundtrack way more than I enjoyed the 11.
I did the same thing too. I played the 8. The 8 one is the overworld theme is also really, really good.
8 has some of the best music, just period. Like some of the most stunning pieces.
As much. Like the normal battle music, I prefer the 11 battle music than 8's battle music.
Yeah, but none of those compare to like the battle music from 4, which is the best of any game ever.
4 has the best. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I agree.
That's why when I played Dark Prince, and that's the battle music for that game, all the music from 4 is in Dark Prince.
And 11, it's in the arena. It's also the battle music when you're doing the arena fights. The tournament.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that theme, that victory theme, dun, 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 that should be the arena theme for every game from now on. Like whenever they have like a Coliseum, that needs to be the theme. Like no matter what, like they need to be. Now that he's passed away, the best way to tribute him is to bring his old tracks back under special circumstances.
Yeah.
Like for example, like in 10 or in 9, if you're gonna have the bonus bosses be like, you know how in some of these games the bosses from older games are like bonus content. Like you can either synthesize to create your own Dragon Lord, or you can fight him again in the new game with your new party. They can do stuff like that and bring in his Dragon Lord theme, his Malroth theme, you know what I mean? So in many ways, he'll live forever in that sense, you know?
Yeah.
At least. Because then we'll hear the good shit forever.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and end this with a special game. We are going to put Geekdom101 versus Sackchief in a quiz to see who
I'm gonna lose
more.
He ambushed me with this, folks. He ambushed me with this, bro. He ambushed me with this, bro.
I did. I didn't
tell me
about this.
He didn't tell me about this, bro. He ambushed.
Shout out to Robert, because he came up with the questions. There are a couple questions that I will add here at the end that I thought of. But we're going to see who knows more about Dragon Quest here. So let's start. We're going to start with the medium questions. We have a medium and a hard. So we'll start with the medium questions. Are you guys ready?
Sure.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
All right. Number 1. What was Dragon Quest XI's Jade name in Japan? So Jade, what was her Japanese name?
I honestly don't know.
It's Martina.
Martina.
Oh yeah, it was Martina. See, I when he said it, I remembered.
Yeah.
Nice. That is correct. So 1 point for Sackchief. Question number 2. What was the name of the merchant in Dragon Quest IV? They got his own spin-off series.
The merchant Tornico.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That one is correct. So 1 point for Geekdom101. It's a speed test. So let's see, if you know the answer, say it right away.
All right.
What monster is considered the best to grind experience from?
Liquid
Metal
slime.
King.
Yep.
Metal King slime.
Metal King, right?
Yeah.
But in 11, I think there's a better place to grind than him, because in Dragon Quest 11, Metal Kings are not found the traditional way.
You have to turn them into.
But usually, but usually it would be Metal King.
Okay.
Usually.
Let's see. All right. Which Dragon Quest game introduced the class changing system?
3.
Yes, 3.
Yep.
I was gonna say 6, but it's 3.
We're gonna do the bumpers, bro.
All right. I gotta step it up a little bit.
Or whatever.
All right.
Yeah, I wish I had like a buzzing thing or something like that. I mean, I do have.
No, listen, bro. I'm not gonna win because I'm high, but because I'm high, right? I have access to other worlds right now, so I might get the answer. I might get the answer from all the spirits around me. So they might be whispering in my ear, bro. The Jins.
All right. Which game in the series took years to localize due to the massive amount of in-game text that was successfully localized due to a large fan campaign?
7? I honestly don't know.
7 on 3DS.
Yep,
That
7
one, right?
for 3DS. That's the exact answer. 7 for 3DS.
So he got the exact answer.
Yeah.
I knew it was 7, but I didn't say 3DS.
Yeah.
Technicality.
Okay.
Technically, you're both correct, but 7 for
yeah.
3DS is the exact answer.
No, it was. Yeah. And ultimately, I've seen people say that the PS1 version, they like it more. I have seen people say that.
There's reasons to say so.
There are reasons. There's less puzzles in the 3DS one.
Like if you like puzzles, the Dragon Warrior 7 is absolutely the way to go. But
Yeah.
if you want it a little more streamlined, it's still massive. The 3DS.
Okay, it's already a long game, so if you're not good with puzzles, you might be stuck on that puzzle for a while. But that's okay, because I'll just go get the game facts.
All right, now we're going to go on to the hard questions. Some of these questions are actually super hard when I look at them. All right, what is the name of the strongest recurring whip in the series?
Is it Gringham's whip or something like that?
What did you say, Sackchief?
No, what did Geekdom say? I didn't.
I said Gringham's whip, but I could be wrong.
That's
That's the only whip I remember in the whole game, bro.
You're correct. You're
right.
correct.
I took a guess, bro.
Oh my god.
I took a guess. I was like, Gringham's, because that's the only name I remembered of all the whips. You know?
Because it's the best one.
Yeah, well, next time me and my girl get together, bro, she wants to give me the whip, bro, and with a dog collar, we'll use Gringham's whip, bro. So I feel the most pleasure and pain.
What was the name of the developer of the first Dragon Quest game?
It's
Chunsoft?
Chunsoft, yeah.
Yeah, it is Chunsoft, correct.
I thought you were gonna say Chuck something, bro.
I was either gonna say
some
Spike or
American
Chun.
guy.
I couldn't think of Spike or Chunsoft. It was one of those. I knew.
Yeah, I think
Spike
this was before they
Spike
become.
was later.
Yeah,
Spike
they
was
became
later.
Spike
I think
Chunsoft
they
later
started
on.
with 5. I want
Yeah,
to say they
bro.
started with.
Well, yeah, Chunsoft was his own company, and then they Spike and Chunsoft.
They merged. They got a merger. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I kept thinking, was it Spike or Chunsoft? Yeah, but yeah, it was Chunsoft. Yeah, Chunsoft was actually founded by Hori's like business partner and like his buddy, and yeah, it's an interesting story behind that one.
All right, what Dragon Quest game did the movie Dragon Quest: Your Story base itself after?
5.
Yep, 5 it is.
Directed by Takashi Yamazaki, who also directed Godzilla -1. And Godzilla -1 is way better than Dragon Quest: Your Story.
I was
Here's the way
stopped by that movie.
Dragon Quest V's story, the game, is higher than Godzilla -1, but Dragon Quest V's movie is below Godzilla -1. I'm just saying.
Its ending is what killed it, honestly, for me. Like, that was like, I was like, I'm loving watching the highlights of this, and then that ending piece happens. Like, you literally just made this whole movie pointless.
Not just that, but there's so much great stuff that happens in that game they couldn't put in the movie. Like,
Yeah.
like that, it's impossible to do that. It's just too much. It's too. It's there's too many like generations of time that pass for it to be made to one movie. You know,
I
it's
agree.
impossible.
The thing, though, is that if they would have kept it just honest, it would have been a joyful romp through the highlights of that game, and it would have been a joy.
The
And instead, you get to that point, and you're just like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, you could also do the thing where you're playing 5 and then you watch the movie, then you pause it, then you keep playing 5, then when you get past a certain part, you hit play on the movie again. So like the movie becomes the cutscene of the game. I know it's stupid. Move on.
No, so I can't find where I wrote down the rest of the questions. I only remember
Thank
one of the
God.
questions. Yeah, I only remember one of the
Thank God.
questions. So I
I'm
will
over
say
here
this.
sweating, bro.
What is the name of the protagonist of Dragon Quest V's dad?
Pancras.
Papa.
Yep. Well, both of them are correct.
I said the Japanese when
Yeah.
you said the American one.
You said the official, yeah.
Yeah, I said the Japanese.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I'm a fucking weeb. God damn it.
I'll give it a Sackchief
Plus-
for that because he
plus
was
when I-
first though.
When I played 5's original translation from like the 90s, it was Papa still.
Papas.
And,
Yeah. So
that-
it's still Papa's, bro. Listen, bro, Dragon Quest 3 is not called The Seeds of Salvation. It's called Into the Legend. Dragon Quest 4 is not called Chapters of the Chosen. It's called The Chosen Ones. You understand what I'm saying? Dragon Quest 5 is not called Hand of the Heavenly Bride. It's called Bride of Heaven. Dragon Quest 8 is not called Journey of the Cursed King. It's called The Land, the Sea, the Sky, or whatever the fuck is fucking like a Pledge of Allegiance freaking type of, you know what I'm saying? You gotta do the Pledge of Allegiance when you play 8. I'm just saying, bro, I hate the American names, bro. Realms of Revelation, Seeds of Salvation.
Those alliterations, because that's like their thing now, you know. They gotta be like,
I hate it. I hate it, bro. You know what? I honestly don't even like the new translations for the moves. The whack, like, you know, like sizz, jizz. Yeah, jizz should be a spell in the game, bro. You know what I mean? Like sizz, sizzle, and sizzard or whatever. I liked it back when it was. I
think that was like a Square Enix thing too, because like
it is.
Like, remember 7 originally was it? In 7, it was Fire 1, Fire 2, Fire 3, or something like that, I believe.
That's and then you're thinking of Final Fantasy.
In Final Fantasy 7, I
Fire
mean, yeah.
1, then Fyra, yeah, that's, I hate it.
Yeah, to that.
Just keep it, dude, back in the day, like, Dragon Quest, it was heal and hurt. And now it's like, what? Now it's like, heal is still heal, right? That's always going to be heal. Yeah. But hurt has become like Fireball, basically, right?
No.
Fireball's hurt.
What is fire?
No, hurt is frizz.
Frizz, right? That's that. Yeah, Fireball is an American name for frizzle, I think, or something like that. Anyways, I don't like the American names.
Yeah, I think it's like frizz and frizzle, and isn't there like a third version of it too?
There is a third one, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't like those names. I like the Japanese names.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wonder if that was a square. Was that in Dragon Quest 8? Like PS2 version. Oh no, because Dragon Quest 8 was that still Enix, or was that Square Enix already?
It was Square Enix.
Square Enix by then.
Enix? Okay. Yeah. So never mind. So what in PS1 then? Let's say Dragon Quest 7. No, Dragon Quest 7 never came over to the US, right?
Yeah, it did.
It did. It was Dragon Warrior 7.
Yeah. So that one were they using the same names? Were they using like Frizz and Frizzle already, or?
I think they were still using all the weird names, right? Or the
original names.
Okay.
Those aren't the weird names, bro. Those are the good names.
Yeah, the weird names are the ones we have now. Yeah.
They're just weird. Yeah, and then also the monster names are different. The monster names are different too. Also, it's like Pokemon. You know how like in Japan, Pokemon like Charizard is Lizardo and shit.
Yeah.
Like it's that. But I don't like that. Just keep it the same.
Yeah.
Why do we have to change everything?
That is true. It's probably a Square Enix thing because, like I said, in Squaresoft days at least, there was different Fire, and then it became Fireaga, in whatever, I forgot what the last one, or Fire, whatever it is. Or like they changed Raise and Life. Like you had Life and you had Raise, and like you'll play one game is called Raise, another game is called Life, and it's like they couldn't decide on what to name the move, even though they're the same move. So. But that is all that we have for today's podcast. I appreciate everyone for showing up. It was definitely a little bit longer than our usual time frame, but was fun nonetheless. That we actually got to talk about Dragon Quest, a game that I feel is still underappreciated in the West. I mean, we've mentioned it plenty of times. A lot when it comes to Dragon Quest, it's just super underappreciated. They're really great games, great music, great stories, amazing stories. I think, in my opinion, 11 is probably the best barrier to entry, especially for like the newer generation, but definitely go back and play like 5 or even 3. Like 3 is amazing as well. I feel like we didn't talk about 3 as much, but 3 is really good.
3 is one of the best games ever made. I think
I agree. Like 3 is amazing. It still holds up till today.
Yes,
well, if you play at least the mobile version, stuff like that, or even the Switch version.
The Super Nintendo version is my favorite.
Yeah, because it has the animation of the monsters and stuff like that, and the pixel art.
And it's just the beautiful colors. Like the world map looks great. Like it's gorgeous. A gorgeous looking
beautiful game. Music when you get your flying mount. I don't want to spoil it, but like the music you get in that, which is also the same for Dragon Quest 11 and I think 8. Correct me if I'm wrong. 8 has also the same song, right?
8 for Heavenly Flight. Yeah, well, every song has its own flying theme.
Yeah.
But every game has its own flying theme. But the legendary one's the one from 3, Heavenly Flight, which they brought back in 8 because it's implied that it's either the same exact bird or or the bird can go between different dimensions and shit. Like different worlds. So like the bird can explore any Dragon Quest world it wants to. That's in the game, by the way. That's lore. That's not. It's not. Yeah, it's not like I'm not making that up. You know.
Yeah. You know, and yeah, some good music. One of them that's actually in my starting soon screen is Heavenly Village, I believe it is, from Dragon Quest 7. I really like this.
Yeah, I love the best soundtrack, bro. For me is 3 and 4, but I don't just mean like Dragon Quest. I mean any game. I think 3 and 4 have the best soundtracks of like any game. That includes Sonic. That includes like Mega Man, and I love those soundtracks. Zelda has great soundtracks. Final Fantasy even has great soundtracks. Many of those are legendary. I think Dragon Quest 3 and 4 is the best, really. Yeah. Sincerely, I think that.
I agree with you as well. But yeah, as always, don't forget, like and subscribe. You know, I had a Final Fantasy video for Versus 13, which I thought was an awesome game. Well, would have been an awesome game if it ever existed. Definitely check out that video. Also have a Persona 3 Reload video. Geekdom101 has been doing a lot of Dragon Ball content. He also streams on Twitch every Saturday, going through Dragon Ball. Showing off Dragon Ball episodes. I was able to make it this Saturday. It's always hard because it's always hard to make it because I'm always working, but I was able to make it this Saturday.
I didn't know which one of you guys was in there because I said random encounter, but I wasn't. Yeah. Okay, I was wondering like who. Yeah. Well, that's a good time because you're watching it in high definition, which is not available anywhere.
Yep. Oh yeah, it would look clean. I was gonna tell you that too. I was like, man, why does this look so clean? Like
because you can't get those versions anywhere. Not in Japan, not in America, not legal. You have to know people to get those versions, bro. You have to be in a certain circle to get those versions, bro. I know we don't sacrifice animals, bro. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
We just sacrifice a lot of time to make better Dragon Ball versions. You understand what I'm saying?
Also, check out Sackchief. He's back in the game. He's probably going to have, if we get that Dragon Quest 3 announcement, he'll probably have a lot of content, but he also does a lot of RPG stuff. I know he's been playing Persona 3 Reload as well lately, which I've also been stuck on that.
I'm working on a review for Persona 3 Reload, so hopefully that'll go up on my channel in a few weeks.
Do me a favor, please. When you review Persona 3 Reload, refer to it as Dragon Quest the entire video, and then in the pinned comment write, "Oh, did I say the wrong name?" Question mark, bro. That's funny. Do that, bro.
Okay.
Refer to it as Dragon Ball the whole video, or Dragon Quest the whole video, and then be like, "Oh, I said the wrong name. My bad." But leave the video up though. Leave the video.
Leave it up after.
Or no, I got a better idea. Now YouTube is letting you add multiple audio tracks. So do English and then do one called like English Truth, and then have it be then in that one just say Dragon Quest, but in the regular one say Persona 3 Reload. Okay. That's a good idea, bro. 2 audio tracks.
I didn't know about that. I'll have to look into that feature.
Or what you do is on the other audio track you say Dragon Quest is better. Dragon Quest is better over and over and over again for the entire video. Just say the same thing over just for the whole video. Just say it. Just that's something you should do. But that's very on brand for you.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And then Robert, actually, let's go ahead and do our outro. Robert, where can I catch you at? If anywhere.
I'm honestly nowhere. This is the first time I've done anything like this, and I envy you. I'm actually familiar with both Geekdom and Sackchief. I've watched several of your Dragon Quest videos, Sackchief, and Geekdom. I followed you for quite a while with the Dragon Ball content. So
no drive-bys then, bro. No drive-bys.
I was like, I
remember
when I was
life to live.
invited to come on here. I didn't realize that you guys were going to be on here. I'm like, oh, I feel so outclassed here.
No, you were fine. You did great, bro. The weed is what outclassed everybody.
Sackchief, where can they find you at?
As it does, bro.
Just YouTube. Same name on YouTube here. I do tweet sometimes, but I'm mainly on YouTube though, so just you can check me out on there.
I like how Sackchief is dressed in green, usually in his avatar, and you're dressed in green, and I've got green running through my veins. So this has been a very green episode of
the green curtain behind Robert too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah! Oh my God, you're right. This is a practical. It's either this is the good Lord above or Mother Nature, whatever you believe in, playing a joke on everyone, bro, especially me.
Oh man, I mean, you got Ninja Turtles too. They're green, right?
Oh, they are. This was not planned. I swear this was not planned. You have my word on it.
Geekdom101, where can I catch you at?
Geekdom101, just type it into YouTube and you should find my channel first. If you find somebody talking about me, they're probably a virgin, so stay away. But if it's the real channel, that's where they find me. Actually, I think
World of Geekdom as well, which is his channel as well.
World of Geekdom is like my non-main channel. It's where I dump all my thoughts about random stuff. But I think didn't YouTube update the URLs now where it's like youtube.com /
slash and then at a name.
Geekdom101. Yeah, there you go. So do / at that. Yes, that works. Thank you.
I also got their links in the description below, so you can always click on their links and of course, subscribe to them and follow more content from them. And as always, you can catch me here at the Random Encounter, where typically I stream. We have a group stream every Thursday. I have a solo stream every Friday. Every Sunday, I have the podcast, and then I try to do a video at least once a week because I don't have time to do more than one. I try to do more than one, but not always. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Thank you, Geekdom. Thank you, Sack. Thank you, Robert, and we will catch you.
You could have sacrificed. You could have sacrificed one of those streams for Godzilla -1, bro. I'm just saying you could have. You could have sacrificed one of them, just one.
Catch everyone later.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you.